Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Am I audible and visible? Yeah, good morning, Yasin. Nitish, good morning. Nitesh, am I audible and visible? Anjani, Jagrati, Divyani, am I audible and visible? Okay, thank you, Divyani. Thank you, Brajneet, Anjani, Jagrati. Thank you. So let me quickly recap whatever we did yesterday. I began with the Delhi Sultanate. Then I told you about the first dynasty, the Ilbari Turks, or popularly called the Slave Dynasty. The most important rulers being Aybak, Qutbuddin Aybak, Iltutmish, Razia, and Balban. And after the death of Balban, we have um, a lot of problems as regards the throne. A number of sultans were murdered, and ultimately we have Ghazi Malik. Malik Firoz. Malik Firoz, who was the commander-in-chief of the Delhi army, he, along with some nobles, killed Kaikubad, killed Kayumars, and came to power under the title Jalaluddin Firoz Khalji. Now, we spoke about the Khalji revolution yesterday, who these Khaljis were. We spoke about Jalaluddin Khalji. He became sultan at the age of 70 years, and he was murdered by his own nephew and son-in-law, Ali Gurshasp, who took the title of Alauddin Khalji. Now, in today's class, I would like to finish Delhi Sultanate and then we'll go to the Mughal Empire. But then I have a few more dynasties to talk about. We will discuss them in detail and then go to the next chapter. So we were doing Alauddin Khalji. Any doubts, any questions as regards yesterday's class? All of you were clear about it, whatever I had done yesterday? Yeah, hello. So we spoke about the Khalji revolution. The Khaljis ended the domination of the Turks in government and administration. All the important positions were earlier held by the Turks. Now, on the basis of ability and merit, people were given jobs and they were also given high postings in the government as such. And they were able to rule almost the whole of India. Under Alauddin Khalji, he conquered almost the whole of India. So we have political homogeneity uh, um, seen over a large part of India. Now, the greatest of the Delhi Sultans was Alauddin Khalji. Yesterday, I discussed about the military conquests of Alauddin Khalji. First of all, North India was conquered. He conquered Gujarat, Ranthambore, Chittor, Malwa, Marwar, and Jalore. So that completed the conquest of North India, and then South India was conquered by his commander Malik Kafur, who defeated the Yadavas and forced them to pay tribute. Similarly, we have the Kakatiyas, the Hoysalas, and then the Pandyas, though the attack on the Pandyas was not fully successful. And after conquering almost the whole of India, Alauddin Khalji took the title of Second Alexander, what he called Sikandar al-Sani, and he appointed Malik Kafur as the Deputy Sultan or Naib Sultan. In yesterday's class, I was discussing about military reforms of Alauddin Khalji. I've also spoken about the revenue reforms, the various revolts which took place during the early part of his rule, and he looked at the causes for these revolts, and at the same time, he was able to stem these revolts by implementing certain strict measures, including strengthening the spy system. We also spoke about revenue reforms. He established the Diwani Mustakraj, the Department of Revenue Arrears, and he also changed the ratio of the Ghanima and the Khams. Khams was king's share, which was 20%. Now it was made 80%. And Ghanima, in turn, the soldier's share was reduced to 20%. So he increased the state revenues through all these methods. And of course, he charged 50% land revenue, the highest till then in the history of India. Nobody had charged 50% till Alauddin Khalji did it. We were discussing the military reforms of Alauddin Khalji, so I'll continue from there onwards. I have also discussed about the measures he took against the rebellious, arrogant Hindu chiefs. So they were deprived of their privileges. They were enjoying tax-free land grants, like milk, etc. So they were all confiscated, and they were reduced to penury, almost penury. So that they don't have any time to think about revolts. At the same time, we will now discuss about military reforms of Alauddin Khalji. So, yeah, military reforms of Alauddin Khalji. So yesterday I told you, Alauddin organized an army which was about 4.50 lakh. This is what Ferishta tells us. Ferishta, one of the historians, Ferishta, he tells us that he had an army of about 4.50 lakhs. Even if he had an army of 3 lakhs, it was a formidable force. So he had the largest standing army um, uh, till then by any Indian king as such, and he paid them salaries on a regular basis. So it was a standing army. They were heavily trained, equipped, and paid monthly salaries. I told you 156 tankas was given to a foot soldier, 156 tankas to a foot soldier, and 234 tankas to a trooper with one horse, and 78 tankas extra for somebody who had two horses. So that will be 312 tankas. So he paid them very good salaries. He was also the person who abolished the ICTA system. So he abolished the ICTA system, and of course, you have regular parades in the army, regular inspections, and then he also introduced Dag and Chara. What is Dag? Branding of horses. You can see here. Here the horse is being branded so that there is no duplication. Yesterday I gave you an example how many of the troopers used to cheat the government. So therefore introduced Dag. And then Chahara. What is Chahara? Descriptive role of soldiers. Chahara means, or Huliya means descriptive role of soldiers. Huliya or Chahara, uh, which translates to descriptive role of soldiers. Now, what is the meaning of that? What is the meaning of that? Good morning, everybody. Ziauddin Barani Chenuru was a contemporary historian. He gives us a lot of information about Alauddin Khalji and also about Muhammad bin Tughlaq, Ziauddin Barani. Right now, what is Chehra or Huliya? It translates to descriptive role of soldiers. That is, nowadays we have an ID card. We have an ID card where we have our photo, right? And therefore nobody can duplicate us because we have a photo identity card. We also have thumb impressions, etc. Now, during those days, that technology was not there. And let's say there's a soldier. There's a soldier called A, okay? And this soldier died about 3 months back. This soldier called A died about 3 months back. And his son, let us say, is a carpenter. His son is a carpenter. But then he is attracted by the salary which his father was getting. So he will put on the dress of his father, and then he will go and collect the salary, calling himself A, calling himself by the name of A. So how will the government know? Because Alauddin had a huge army of 4.5 lakhs. So there could be possibility of proxy. Like in classrooms, we have proxy attendance like that. You have somebody else might be trying to duplicate this person called A. Therefore, and that would affect the efficiency of the army. He is a carpenter. Let's say B is a carpenter, the son of A, and he is taking the salary of his father, and his father has died about 3 months back, let us say. So when there's a war, what will this fellow called B do? He's a carpenter. He has no fighting abilities. So therefore, it would affect the efficiency of the army in an adverse manner. And therefore, what Alauddin Khalji did is he got the description, the physical description of that particular soldier noted down in a register. For example, A is such and such a height, he is of this color, he's got those marks on his body, on his face. Let's say he has lost one of his ears in battle, etc. So all those details are mentioned in the register. And when A comes to collect his salary, that is tallied whether he is really A. Whatever has been mentioned in the register is tallied, and then accordingly, once it is confirmed that that person is really A, then the salary would be dispersed to that person. So this is called huli or chehra. Did you understand what I just now said? So this was to avoid duplication or proxy, right? Are you clear? Can I move on? So Alauddin introduced this huli or chehra. Further, you have fine bred horses. Arabian horses were imported. So Arabian horses were imported, and these horses were crossed with the local tattoos, the local horses. So you understand this Arabian horse. Okay, then you have a local horse. Local horse. Then what will happen when they are crossed? You have a hybrid horse. You have a hybrid horse. So let us say the Arabian horse runs about, let us say, 45 kilometers per hour. Okay, the local horse, let's say, is able to catch up a speed of about 25 kilometers per hour, right? 25 kilometers per hour. And the hybrid will be somewhere in between, let's say about 40 kilometers per hour. So overall quality of the cavalry would increase. Did you understand? Very smart fellow he was. Yeah, like mole identification. So foreign horses mixed with the local horses, crossbred, and then you have a hybrid horse. So the overall quality of the cavalry would increase, and of course the weapons were forged in the state smithy, in the state smiths. So very fine weapons were made, and his army was equipped. As I told you yesterday, the maximum number of Mongol attacks happened during the time of Alauddin Khalji, and he was very, very successful against the Mongols. He was able to stop them at the borders. Of course, in one attack, they came up to the borders of Delhi, but Zafar Khan, one of the commanders of Alauddin, fought bravely, and he was able to repel the Mongol attack. But Zafar Khan died in one of these attacks, right? So this is about the military reforms of Alauddin Khalji. Further, we will talk about the market reforms. The market reforms of Alauddin Khalji. Very interesting this is. So let's understand these market reforms. So market reforms of Alauddin Khalji. Now, we know this, that Alauddin Khalji gave a huge amount of salary to his soldiers and officers. So he gave them very attractive salaries. The reason being he wanted to keep them happy. Why he wanted to keep them happy? He wanted to conquer the whole of India, and that wouldn't have been possible without the help of his soldiers and officers. And he also wanted to tackle the Mongol menace. So he was dependent on his army, and he had to keep them happy and comfortable. So he gave them very good salaries. Now, Alauddin also knew that there is something called inflation, isn't it? There's something called inflation. And if the prices of essential commodities uh, rise and fall very frequently, the soldier and the officer will not be able to save much. For example, let's say today the price of tomato, 1 kg tomato, let's say, is 10 rupees. Okay. And after 20 days, the same tomato, 1 kg tomato, is 50 rupees. And after 3 months, it is 100 rupees, right? So if there is fluctuation in the prices of essentials, then the soldier and the officer will not be able to save much of his salary, and it will affect his family adversely, and also the fighting capacity of the soldier and the officer, because he is not happy with whatever salary he is getting because of this price fluctuation. So what he did is he ordered all the merchants. He ordered all the merchants to register themselves in the commerce ministry. So there was a ministry established by Alauddin Khalji. So they were supposed, all these merchants were supposed to register themselves with their name, etc. And they were ordered that they keep their families on the outskirts of Delhi. So all the merchants traders had to keep their family on the outskirts of Delhi. If they refused, then he threatened that he will harm his family members. He will harm their family members. So they had no choice but to keep their families on the outskirts of Delhi. And he saw to it that all these merchants supply all the essentials, whatever are necessary for a human being to survive on a daily basis: vegetables, fruits, dry fruits, meat, poultry, oil, sugar, pulses, cereals, etc. So these merchants had to bring all these various varieties of food grains, including vegetables and fruits, to the market at Delhi. So he established 4 markets at Delhi, right? One was called the mandi. One was the general market called mandi. So he established a mandi. Mandi is a market either way. Then here you have an officer called the Shuna. Shuna was in charge here. Then you have another market called Sarai Adal. Then third market for horses, cattle, and slaves, and fourth market for general merchandise. Now, what he did is he saw to it that the prices of these essential commodities don't rise and fall so frequently, right? So many times he ordered that the provisions should be collected, the taxes should be collected from the Khalisa lands, the crown lands, in kind, not in cash. In every mohalla or locality of Delhi, ration shops were opened so that food is easily accessible to the people of Delhi as well as the soldiers and the officers. So in every mohalla, provision stores were opened, and so the merchants also were prevented from hoarding the food grains, so that there is no artificial scarcity created. So they were asked not to hoard food grains. The you know So that's one thing. Further, if somebody was cheating as regards weights and measures in the market, if any merchant or trader was cheating, then that much amount of flesh was cut off from that person's body. For example, let's say there's a person called A. He goes to buy sugar in the market, and he buys 1 kg sugar. Okay, he pays the money and he's coming back with that 1 kg sugar. We have the government officials with their own weighing scale deployed in the market area, and they will call that person, A. So please come here. What have you bought? That person will say 1 kg sugar. So they will take that 1 kg sugar and measure that sugar in their own weighing scales, in the government weighing scale. And let's say they find that it is only 900 grams, not 1 kg. So 100 grams less. So 100 grams of flesh was cut away or taken away from that particular shopkeeper's body, right? So we had a lot of people during the time of Alauddin Khalji's time who had their limbs missing. Somebody has his ear missing, somebody's one eye is missing, or nose is missing, or some of his fingers are missing, etc. So he gave exemplary punishments to those people who try to cheat the customer. So this is the market reforms of Alauddin Khalji. The only purpose, the only reason why he ordered these market reforms was to see that the soldier and the officer is not affected unduly by the frequent rise and fall of prices of essentials. He wanted to keep only his officers and soldiers happy. He was not bothered about anybody else. So here, the people of Delhi, so these market reforms were implemented in Delhi and the surrounding areas. Okay, so the people of Delhi and the surrounding areas were very, very happy and prosperous because of this reason. Whereas the countryside was bleeding in the sense that they were suffering. The farmers were suffering, but then he was not bothered. He wanted to keep his soldiers and officers happy, right? So this is considered to be a wonder of the age, because even after Alauddin Khalji died, these prices of essential commodities were stable for a very long period of time. So it is considered to be a wonder of the age, the market reforms of Alauddin Khalji. So he used force he was able to use force and then see that the prices don't fluctuate in the market. These are the market reforms of Alauddin Khalji. Did you understand? Please raise your hands. The four markets, I'm coming to that. So you can see here on your screen. So the idea behind market reforms was only to keep his officers and soldiers happy so that they can live comfortably with whatever salary they had, and also they're able to save. That was the whole purpose. So whatever is used by a soldier or an officer on a daily basis, all those prices were uh, made very, very cheap and stable. There's no fluctuation at all. Throughout the year, there's no fluctuation. He established four markets, as you can see on your screen. We have the Mandi, the central grain market, and you have an officer called Shuna in charge here. The Serai-e-Adal market for cloth, sugar, herbs, dry fruits, butter and lamp oil. The market for horses, slaves and cattle, and general market for all the commodities. And every mohalla, he established ration shops, grocer shops, right? So he also collected revenue in kind from the Khalisa lands. So merchants had to register themselves. I've told you all the story. So this is about the market reforms of Alauddin Khalji. So we have discussed the conquest of Alauddin Khalji, his measures he took against the Hindu hereditary revenue officers, the various causes of revolts which he identified and then stemmed them, and of course the market reforms of Alauddin Khalji. Right. So we have discussed this in detail. Yes, Rajneesh, his army and officers contain Indians also, of course. I told you, Khaljis opened up the government to everybody, irrespective of race and family background. So the only consideration was merit. Yeah, Stephen is here on your screen. Mandi is the general grain market, the central grain market. Serai-e-Adal, then market for horses, slaves, and cattle, and general market for all other commodities. Yeah. Dipesh, I have answered that question. What are the various markets? Four markets. So, therefore, the people of Delhi and the surrounding areas were enjoying all these benefits, but then the countryside was suffering. So, therefore, the saying, the capital was fed while the country at large was bled. Country at large was bled. Now, during his old age, Alauddin had to suffer because of his health. And once Alauddin Khalji died, I will come to that. Once Alauddin Khalji died, power was seized by Malik Kafur. But then further, something about Alauddin Khalji, he was an illiterate person. So though he was illiterate, Alauddin patronized a number of scholars, including Amir Khusru. So Amir Khusru, he was given the title of Tut-e-Hind. He was given the title of Parrot of India by Alauddin Khalji, Amir Hassan, etc. He constructed the following buildings, as you can see on your screen. So what are the following buildings? Siri Fort. He established the second city of Delhi, Siri. Then the second building is Hazar Sutun, that is a palace of 1,000 pillars. The Alai Darwaza, the entrance gateway to the Qutub complex, and of course, an incomplete minar. He had planned a minar or a tower twice the height of the Qutub Minar, and he could only see the construction of the foundation and the first floor, and that itself is about 70 feet tall. As you can see on your screen, this is the city of Siri, which is in ruins now. This is Siri, right? And this is the Mahal Hazar Sutun, that is the Palace of 1,000 Pillars. This is the entrance gateway to the Qutub complex called Alai Darwaza, which was built by Alauddin Khalji. And this is the incomplete tower, which he had planned a tower twice the height of the Qutub Minar, and this itself is about 70 feet tall, 70 feet in height, right? Rajneesh is asking, can you be a little specific, Rajneesh? Why did the After what treatment were Muslim rulers different from rulers of Indian subcontinent? Um, see, um, it's a pretty dicey question to answer, actually, Rajneesh. The thing is, when Ghazni and Ghori attacked, they were outsiders and they came to plunder and loot, right? So, Ghazni targeted temples, as I told you. Ghori was wanting to spread Islam in this country, and we have also instances of forcible conversions happening. Hindu buildings, Hindu temples, Jain temples were demolished in the early part of the phase of the Delhi Sultanate because their religion, as they were Muslims, and Islam expects a Muslim, a true Muslim, to pray 5 times in a day and 1 time in the week on Friday, go to the masjid for namaz, Jummah day as it is called. So it's a congregational religion basically. Like Christianity is a congregational religion. Sundays, Christians go to the church and pray, go to the mass. Similarly, Muslims are expected to go to the masjid on Friday and pray. Now, initially, what we notice is a number of demolitions happening all over North India. Hindu temples, Jain temples were demolished, and in their place, mosques were constructed. Um, right? Um, so they came along. They came to plunder and loot. They did not come along with architects, engineers, masons, etc., to build any structure here. So they utilize the Hindu masons to build mosques, and so we have a beautiful mixture of Islamic and Hindu elements in the architecture scene. Later, once they consolidated themselves, they gave up this policy of demolishing Hindu and Jain temples, and they built independent structures. Now, regarding the after the war, why were the Muslim rulers treating differently? I have my reservations about this. The thing is, we see plunder and loot happening even among Hindu kings, right? For example, if you look at the Cholas, when they attacked Sri Lanka, when they conquered Sri Lanka, you have the capital Polonnaruwa, which was burnt, and another capital called Anuradhapura, which was built, right? Similarly, we have the Vijayanagar kings fighting against Bahamani sultans. So there was no religion involved here. Yeah, they fought over three fertile areas: the Krishna Godavari Delta, the Krishna Tungabhadra Basin, the Raichur Dog, what is it called, and the Konkan coast. So there was no religion here involved because you have equal number of Muslims, quite a lot of Muslims serving in the Vijayanagar army, and quite a lot of Hindus also serving the Bahamani armies. So whenever a particular king won the battle, let's say Vijayanagara king won the battle against the Bahamani Sultan, you have loot and plunder done by the Vijayanagar kings. Similarly, the opposite is also true, that the Bahamani Sultan also engaged in loot and plunder, right? So this was constant, even between the Pallavas and the Chalukyas. I've told you, when we did the Pallava Chalukya conflict, whenever the Chalukyas won against the Pallavas, they looted and plundered. Similarly, the Pallavas did the same thing to the Chalukyas. So, therefore, to say that only the Muslim rulers, engage in loot and plunder would be not true. Of course, it also involved. Initially, it also involved under Ghazni, Ghori, and the Arab conquest of Sindh, and even beyond after that, we have many of the people of India who were reduced to slavery. Many were sold in the slave markets. So that was there, which was not earlier there in among the Indian rulers, right? So that was the exception, right? Yasin, why the tower is incomplete? Because he died. Alauddin Khalji could not see the completion of this tower, which he had planned twice the height of the Qutub Minar. Did you understand, Rajneesh? Fourth picture, I've told you, incomplete tower. See, Komal, Komal is asking, there are allegations that most of the times that mosques have been built over Shiva temple, like that of Taj Mahal or other temple. Are these true? See, I'll tell you something, Komal, and all the other students. This rift between Hindus and Muslims was sowed by the British, and unfortunately, even now, to a certain extent, this particular difference between Hindus and Muslims is there. We were always ruled by Musalman kings. Now, look at our history from 1206. we have till 1526, the rule of the Delhi Sultanate, right? So we had no problem, except whenever a Delhi Sultan engaged in forcible conversions, imposed jizya, then people did not like it, obviously. But then everybody did not, do that. Similarly, we have the Mughals. Mughals ruled from 1526 to 1707. That is, Aurangzeb dies in 1707, and then till 1857, 1858, till the Sepoy Mutiny. So we were always ruled by Muslim kings, and we never had any problem because the common man was not affected, just because the ruler is a Muslim. Only when rulers like Aurangzeb engage in demolition of temples as a policy, forcible conversions to Islam, then people rebelled, they objected. Otherwise, there was no problem at all. In the Sepoy Mutiny, when you do modern India, you study that, you have Muslims and Hindus fought together against the British, right? So, and of course, with great difficulty, the British were able to restore their rule over this country. And then the parliament took over, the crown took over from the company. And from 1870 onwards, the British deliberately followed a policy of divide and rule. Okay, divide and rule. So divide the Hindus and the Muslims so that the British can rule over this country for a longer period of time. And this finally resulted in the partition of the country in 1947, right? So it was the British who sowed these seeds. It was nobody else. So therefore, that particular question answers whatever I've told you, right? So there's no proof that there was a Shiva temple underneath underneath the Taj Mahal. That is utter nonsense. These are all stories made up or written by people with questionable intentions. So therefore, stick to the original history textbooks written by Satish Chandra and others after extensive research. Don't go by what people just for the sake of some attention or for some other questionable intentions write history, right? So interpretation is very important. We'll come back here. So here, what happened after the death of Alauddin Khalji? So here, in his old age, he suffered because of a lack of health, failure of health. And Malik Kafur, once Alauddin Khalji died, Malik Kafur seized all the power in his hands. Malik Kafur. So what did Malik Kafur do? This Malik Kafur, Alauddin Khalji's general, placed Shihabuddin Omar on the throne. Shihabuddin Omar, if you remember, who's Shihabuddin Omar? Anybody here? I'm sure you remember. The son of Alauddin Khalji and the son of, the Ritu I told you, whenever intolerant kings like Aurangzeb followed a policy of deliberate destruction of temples, people had a problem, right? No Hindu liked it, isn't it? But then everybody did not engage in demolition of temples. If you look at the other Mughal emperors, Durgavati, Kamala Devi, right? So Shihabuddin Omar was the son born to Alauddin Khalji and Kamala Devi. Very good. So what he did is he was 6 years old. Shihabuddin Omar was 6 years old at that point in time. So he placed Shihabuddin Omar on the throne of of the Delhi Sultanate, and then he got other children of Alauddin Khalji arrested or blinded. For example, Khizr Khan, who had been appointed as the governor of Chittor after Alauddin Khalji conquered it, he was blinded, right? Khizr Khan was blinded. And another person called Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji. Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji was imprisoned. Now, so Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji was imprisoned by Malik Kafur, and he put Shihabuddin Omar on the throne, a 6-year-old boy. Now, Malik Kafur began to ill-treat the family members of Alauddin Khalji. So he was ill-treating, disrespect. He was showing a lot of disrespect to the family members of Alauddin Khalji. So the personal bodyguards of Alauddin Khalji. So Alauddin Khalji had 10,000 personal bodyguards. So they were watching Malik Kafur misbehaving with the royal family. So within 100 days, these bodyguards, the personal bodyguards of Alauddin Khalji, murdered Malik Kafur. So Malik Kafur was finished off. Thereupon, Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji, who had been imprisoned, came out of prison, right, acted as a regent to Shihabuddin Omar. So he began to act as the regent, that is, as a representative, because Shihabuddin Omar was only 6 years old. And when he found an opportunity, he got Shihabuddin Omar murdered, and Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji became the Sultan, right? So you can see on your screen, Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji, son of Alauddin Khalji. This Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji began to call himself as the Khalifa. He said, I am myself the Khalifa. So he called himself as the Khalifa, right? And he had a favorite called Khusro Khan, a Hindu convert. Okay, Hindu convert, Baradu brothers, Hassan and Husamuddin. So Hassan was given the title of Khusro Khan. So Khusro Khan became the prime minister of this Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji. And when he found an opportunity, this Khusro murdered Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji and seized the throne, right? So we have power struggle happening here. So Khusro Khan killed him and became the Sultan. So the next ruler is Khusro Khan or Nasruddin Khusro Shah. Nasruddin Khusro Shah, the only Hindu convert to sit on the throne of Delhi. The only Hindu convert to sit on the throne of Delhi. And we have Ghazi Malik. He was in charge of the border areas against Mongol attacks. So he was a warden of the marches at Dipalpur. So he, along with some nobles, murdered Nasruddin Khusro and seized the power in their hands. And Ghazi Malik took the title of Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq and established the Tughlaq dynasty. So this is the third dynasty which came to power. Are you clear? Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji was a son of Alauddin Khalji. I told you, right? So you can see here, these are all the children of Alauddin Khalji. Shihabuddin Omar, Khizr Khan, Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji. So Khizr Khan had been blinded by Malik Kafur. So he had been blinded, right? Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji was imprisoned and Shihabuddin Omar had been placed on the throne, right? Yeah, what about the Khalifa? Yasin, what about the Khalifa? Khalifa had nothing to do here. Alauddin Khalji never cared for the Khalifa, right? Alauddin Khalji never cared for the Khalifa. Only 3 sultans applied for Mansur and got it. I told you. One was, of course, Iltutmish. The second was Muhammad bin Tughlaq. And the third was Firuz Tughlaq. So Khalifa has no role to play here, Yasin. So they use the Khalifa according to their convenience. If they did not want the Khalifa, they never cared. And when they wanted the Khalifa, they gave a lot of importance to the Khalifa, the Delhi Sultans. Right? So this is about the Khalji dynasty. So Ghazi Malik or Ghiyazuddin, Dhyana, he was in charge of the frontier areas to tackle the Mongol attacks. So he's called the Warden of the Marches. He was in charge of the border areas at Dipalpur, Warden of the Marches on the border areas at Dipalpur. So he, along with some nobles, killed this Nasruddin Khusro Shah. He was a Hindu convert, so not very popular amongst the nobles, and therefore he was killed. And then Ghazi Malik seized power in his hands and established the Tughlaq dynasty. So we come to the next dynasty, the Tughlaq dynasty, right? Tughlaqs. Now, among the 5 dynasties which ruled Delhi, Tughlaqs ruled for the longest period of time, almost for about 94 years or so. They ruled, right? And we have some important rulers here. One was Muhammad bin Tughlaq and the other is Firuz Tughlaq. So we'll come to that. Now, the Tughlaqs belong to the Karauna tribe of the Turks. They belong to the Karauna tribe of the Turks. And Tughlaq was the personal name of this Ghazi Malik. Ghazi Malik, who killed Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji, Nasruddin Khusro. This Ghazi Malik, who killed Nasruddin Khusro, had one name called Tughlaq next to his name. So Tughlaq was the personal name of Ghazi Malik or Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq, right? So anyway, the name continues, the name Tughlaq continues, though they belong to the Karauna tribe of the Turks. Are you there with me? So Tughlaq was a personal name of Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq. It was his personal name, Ghazi Malik or Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq. He took a new name called Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq after he became Sultan. Otherwise, he was called Ghazi Malik. Ghazi Malik Tughlaq. So Tughlaq was his personal name. Okay, right. Now, Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq, we'll talk about the Tughlaqs now. Interesting. So Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq, when he came to power, he reduced the land tax to 1/3, 33%. Alauddin Khalji was charging 50% land revenue. We know this. So it was reduced to 33% by this Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq. And Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq is also the first sultan to start state-sponsored irrigation. State-sponsored irrigation, where the state is giving money to build, to dig up wells, build tanks, etc. So state-sponsored irrigation began under him. So he was the first sultan to have started irrigation works. And then you have Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq, who had a son called Jauna, Prince Jauna. Prince Jauna, Jauna Khan. So he's still a minor, this Jauna Khan. So Ghiyazuddin sent a huge army under this Prince Jauna Khan and ordered Prince Jauna to attack the Pandyas of Madurai and the Kakatiyas of Warangal because they had stopped paying tribute. So Prince Jauna Khan took the army and he was able to win against the Kakatiyas and the Pandyas. And that was the end of those two dynasties. So in 1323, his son Jauna Khan conquered the Pandyas and the Kakatiyas, right? Pandyas and the Kakatiyas, because they had stopped paying tribute. So we see that the Delhi Sultanate was expanding southwards. Alauddin Khalji had not directly conquered the south, except Devagiri. We have seen that, isn't it? Yadava, once Ramachandra Deva died, his son rebelled against Alauddin Khalji. So Malik Kafur was ordered to kill him. And then Devagiri was annexed. So except Devagiri, the other parts of South India were free, but they were accepting the overlordship of the Delhi Sultanate. And they were paying tribute regularly to the Delhi Sultan. It was Muhammad bin Tughlaq, this Jauna Khan, who later became Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He was the one who expanded the Delhi Sultanate south of the Vindhyas, and he decided to directly rule over them. So we have the maximum territorial extent of the Delhi Sultanate under the Tughlaqs, particularly Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So he was able to take the territory of the Delhi Sultanate beyond the Vindhyas. Now, there was a revolt in Bengal. Okay, now understand this. There was a revolt in Bengal. So Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq took his army from Delhi and he marched along with his son, Mahmud Khan. Mahmud Khan was his eldest son, favorite. Mahmud Khan was his favorite son. So along with his favorite son, Mahmud Khan, he marched to Bengal, put down that revolt. Now, as the Sultan, Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq was leaving Delhi, as he was leaving Delhi to put down that revolt in Bengal, we have a saint of Delhi. His name is Hazrat Nizamuddin Aulia, Khwaja Hazrat Nizamuddin Aulia. He gave a prophecy. He said, the Sultan will not come back alive to Delhi. The Sultan will not return back alive to Delhi. This is a prophecy made by Hazrat Nizamuddin Aulia. So what happened here? So Ghiyazuddin went to Bengal, put down that revolt, and he was returning back to Delhi with a huge amount of loot. So he was coming back with his favorite son, Mahmud Khan. Prince Jauna was elated. Prince Jauna was Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq's eldest son. So he was elated. He was very, very happy that his father is returning back safe from Bengal. And he wanted to receive his father on the outskirts of Delhi. So therefore, what Jauna did is, he ordered the construction of a pavilion. He ordered the construction of a wooden pavilion. So a wooden pavilion with a stage was set up. And you have, thousands of people who had gathered to receive Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq, who was returning triumphantly back from Bengal. Now, on the stage sat Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq and his favorite son, Mahmud Khan. And the war trophies were being displayed. The war trophies were being displayed. That is, whatever loot had been brought from Bengal was being displayed to the public. So you have horses, the hundreds of horses, thousands of horses which had been brought from Bengal as a loot. Elephants had been brought. A lot of wealth had been brought. So all those were displayed on the stage for the public to view. So here what happened is when the elephants were being paraded on the stage, one of the elephants happened to stamp a particular part of the pavilion. That's called kushk. Pavilion is called kushk. So that pavilion, when one of the elephant happened to stamp on a part of the pavilion, the entire pavilion collapsed, crushing Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq and his favorite son Mahmud Khan under its weight. Now we have contemporary historians such as Isami and Ibn Battuta. So Ibn Battuta, you can see on your screen, this is the pavilion which collapsed. Ibn Battuta, who was from Africa, he was from Tangiers, Morocco. In Morocco, he was from Morocco, a place called Tangiers. He had come to the court of Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq. So Ibn Battuta tells us he had come to the court of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. I'm sorry. So he'd come to the court of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So he tells us that it was a conspiracy on the part of Prince Jauna to murder his father and his father's favorite son and seize the throne. So Isami also reiterates the same thing. He says that it was a conspiracy on the part of Jauna to seize the throne. But historians don't believe this. It was a pure accident which happened. There was no conspiracy involved. Why they don't believe, I'll tell you later. Do you understand? Hello? Jauna was the eldest son. Dipesh, Jauna was the eldest son. Mahmud Khan was the favorite son. So, right? So, Mahmud Khan was the favorite son, and Jauna was the eldest. Now, after mourning for about 40 days, sincerely, Jauna Khan ascended the throne with the title Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So Jauna Khan becomes Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Now, I'm sure you have studied about Muhammad bin Tughlaq in your school days, right? Fascinating person. Okay, I'm sure you know something about Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Anybody remembers anything about Muhammad bin Tughlaq? Mad King, known as Mad King, says Deba. Okay. Unlucky ruler. So, Dhyana says unlucky ruler, shifting capital. He was a little illiterate. No. Stephen, he was not illiterate. He was highly qualified. The most qualified amongst the Delhi Sultans. Coinage. He was insane, described by Ibn Battuta. We'll come to that. So, very interesting chap, this fellow, Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So, we have, you know quite a lot of you know quite a lot about Muhammad bin Tughlaq. We'll talk about it. He brought Prasad, he did not bring about market reforms. Market reforms were brought by Alauddin Khalji. Paper currency, copper coins, not copper coins, bronze coins, Surya. We'll come to that. He's known for his political experiments. So thank you for participating. So we'll come back here to Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So Jauna took the title Muhammad bin Tughlaq and ascended the throne. We have two historiographical works which give information about his rule. One is Kitabul Rehla, written by Ibn Battuta. So Rehla, written by Ibn Battuta. So Ibn Battuta was a traveler from Morocco in Africa. So he came to the court of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and Muhammad bin Tughlaq appointed him as Qazi. Now look here, very interesting this is. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq appointed him as the Qazi of Delhi. Qazi is the head of the of the mosque. No, not the head of the law. He's the Islamic judge. Qazi is the Islamic judge. So he was appointed Qazi of Delhi. So Ibn Battuta was very happy that he had been honored by Muhammad bin Tughlaq and appointed Qazi. But then after a few years, Ibn Battuta was ordered to be arrested by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. And Ibn Battuta was put in the prison, and he languished in the prison for 10 years. He was in prison for 10 years, wondering all the time, what the hell did I do that I'm in prison? Why did he get me arrested? Why am I in jail? So no charge was leveled against him. Muhammad bin Tughlaq simply ordered him to be arrested and put in prison. So Ibn Battuta was languishing in prison for 10 years in Delhi. And then after 10 years, Muhammad bin Tughlaq released him from prison and asked him, would you like to go to China as my ambassador? Ibn Battuta said, yes, sir, I would like to go to China. Who wants to be in prison? So Ibn Battuta he went to China as the as the ambassador of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So he goes to China, and from China, he did not come back to India. Why? Because what if the Sultan again arrests him and puts him in jail or gets him killed? So Ibn Battuta straight went to Morocco, and there he writes a book, Rehla. In that book called Rehla, he criticizes Muhammad bin Tughlaq with all the choicest abuses, and he accuses him of having killed his father, so having committed patricide. So Ibn Battuta had a personal grudge against Muhammad bin Tughlaq because he had been punished by Muhammad bin Tughlaq and he had been imprisoned for 10 years. So historians don't believe the version given by Ibn Battuta that he was responsible for, that Muhammad bin Tughlaq was responsible for the death of his father, right? That he deliberately killed his father. So this particular interpretation is rejected by historians. Are you there with me? Right. Then we have another book called Tariq-i-Firuz Shahi, written by Ziauddin Barani. So these are the two main uh, works which give information about Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So maximum territorial extent happened under his rule, Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Now, in short, I have used the word MBT, so don't get confused. In short, I have used the word Muhammad bin Tughlaq, MBT in short, in the PPTs. But in the examination, if there's any question asked in the mains, don't write MBT, write Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Now, this MBT, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, was the most qualified amongst the Delhi sultans. That is, he had received a comprehensive formal education. He knew many subjects. He knew Persian, Arabic, logic, philosophy, religion, mathematics. So he was an expert in all these subjects. Like a UPSC candidate, he had read all these subjects. Because you people read so many subjects as UPSC students. So like that, he had read all these subjects, and he was a rationalist. Interestingly, he was a rationalist. He was rational in his thought. So without asking questions and eliciting answers, logical answers, he would not believe anything. Even with respect to religion and philosophy, he was like that. Even with respect to religion and philosophy, he was like that. So he was rational in his thoughts. The maximum territorial extent happened under Muhammad bin Tughlaq, where the Delhi Sultanate expanded towards South India. Now look here, understand this. I'll be repeating this when I do Vijayanagara. Now, we have the Kakatiya kingdom here. We had it rather. So Kakatiyas had been conquered by Jauna Khan. Muhammad bin Tughlaq was the prince, remember? So in 1323, he had conquered the Kakatiyas. And in the present region of Karnataka, there was one particular small kingdom called Kampili. So there was this Kampili here, a kingdom called Kampili. So I'll use another Kampili. And in the region here, in the a place called Gulbarga. Okay. So there was this place called Sagar near present-day Gulbarga in Karnataka. And a cousin of Muhammad bin Tughlaq was the governor of this Sagar near Gulbarga. His name was Bahauddin Gurshaps. Bahauddin Gurshaps. Ali Gurshaps is who became Alauddin Khalji. This is Bahauddin Gurshap. Bahauddin Gurshap, not Gurshas. I'm sorry, Gurshap. So let us say this is Delhi here. So there was a rebellion at Sagar. Bahauddin Gurshap refused to recognize Muhammad bin Tughlaq as his overlord. So he rebelled against Muhammad bin Tughlaq, the cousin of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, this Bahauddin Gurshap. So what happened is Muhammad bin Tughlaq attacked Sagar. He attacked Sagar, defeated Bahauddin Gurshap, and conquered that area. Right? Try to follow this story, please. So he attacked Sagar near Gulbarga, defeated his cousin Bahauddin Gurshap, and Bahauddin Gurshap escaped, and he took shelter under the Kampili king. So there was the king of Kampili, a small kingdom in present-day Karnataka. So Bahauddin Gurshap sought asylum under the Kampili king. So when his cousin took shelter under the Kampili king, this angered Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq attacked Kampili. He attacked Kampili and conquered Kampili. This is the last conquest of the Delhi Sultans in the south. Kampili is the last conquest of the Delhi Sultans in the south. Are you there with me? Clear? Till here, are you clear? Surya, there are many sagars. This is not the Shimoga Sagar. This is one in Gulbarga. I'm not talking about this, Jog Falls in Sagar district, Sagar Taluk. What about Kakatiya? Kakatiyas were no more there, isn't it? Kakatiyas were no more there because Jauna Khan had already conquered the Pandyas and the Kakatiyas. So are you there with me? Can you raise your hands? Can I move on? Aulia's prophecy, Dhyana, I told you, Aulia's prophecy became true because the Sultan never reached Delhi alive. His dead body came back. Okay, so we'll move on here. Understand this. Now, Kampili was conquered. But then, please understand, we are told, this is one theory regarding the origin of Vijayanagara. There are two theories. One is the Telugu origin theory. The other is the Kannada origin theory. Now, what does the Telugu origin theory tell us? It tells us that there were two brothers, Harihara and Bukka. There were two brothers, Harihara and Bukka. They were serving under the Kakatiyas. They were under the Kakatiya king. But in 1323, when Kakatiya kingdom was conquered by Muhammad bin Tughlaq, these two brothers, Harihara and Bukka, came to Kampili. They came to Kampili and sought employment under the Kampili king. And the Kampili Raja appointed these two brothers as the governors of Anegundi. So they have a place called Anegundi. So they were appointed as governors of Anegundi in Karnataka. So when Muhammad bin Tughlaq attacked Kampili, because Bahauddin Gurshap, his cousin, had been given shelter by the Kampili king, we have these two brothers, Harihara and Bukka, who also went to assist their Raja against Muhammad bin Tughlaq. But in the war, Kampili was conquered, the king was killed. Harihara and Bukka, though fought bravely, were taken captive, taken to Delhi. Harihara and Bukka were taken as prisoners of war to Delhi, forcibly converted to Islam. And since they were promising young boys, they were reposted in the south. They were reposted in the south to contain rebellion and help in the consolidation of the Delhi Sultanate. So when they were in the south, they came under the influence of the pontiff of the Shankaracharya Mutt at Sringeri. So there's a place called Sringeri where Adi Shankaracharya built the first mutt in India. So the pontiff, the head of that Shankaracharya Mutt, was a person called Vidyaranya, Saint Vidyaranya. So Saint Vidyaranya saw a lot of potential in these two boys, reconverted them to Hindu religion, and inspired them to found a kingdom in the south, which will act as protection, which will give protection to the armies from the north, from the invading armies from the north. So he inspired these two brothers, and these two brothers founded the city of Vijayanagara. Initially, it was called Vidyanagara after Vidyaranya, then Virupakshanagara, and finally Vijayanagara, the city of victory. This is the Telugu origin theory as regards the origin of Vijayanagara. When I come to Vijayanagara topic, I'll again repeat this. Keep this in your mind. Yasin, once again. Okay. Who wants it once again? So, yeah, I said, so you see on your screen, Bahauddin Gurshab, the cousin of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, was the governor of Sagar near Gulbarga. So he rebelled against Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq attacked Sagar, defeated his cousin Bahauddin Gurshab, who took shelter under the Kampili king, the king of Kampili, right? And there, under the king of Kampili, two brothers had been serving. So once the Kakatiya kingdom had been conquered by Prince Jauna, earlier, who later became Muhammad bin Tughlaq, these two boys, Harihara and Bukka, had come and taken employment under the Kampili Raja, who had appointed them as governors of Anegundi. So when Muhammad bin Tughlaq attacked Kampili king, the Kampili Raja, for having given protection to Bahauddin Gurshab, these two brothers, Harihara and Bukka, also went to assist the Kampili king. But in the process, the Kampili king was killed, Kampili was conquered, these two brothers were taken captive, made prisoners of war, POWs, and taken to Delhi, forcibly converted to Islam, and reposted in the south to contain rebellion and to help in the consolidation of the Delhi Sultanate in the south. There they came under the influence of this saint of Sringeri called Vidyaranya, the head of the Shankaracharya Mutt at Sringeri, who inspired these two brothers to found a kingdom in the south which will give protection to the people of the south from the invading armies of the north, from the north. So you remember attacks on South India began from the time of Alauddin Khalji. As governor of Kara and Manikpur, he had plundered Devagiri, and he came to know that there's a lot of wealth there. So that wealth helped him to become Sultan. And later when he became Sultan, he sent Malik Kafur to plunder South India and to take away the wealth of South India. So when you have attacks from on the south, you have also loot, plunder, and rapine. So there was no protection to the people of South India from the invading armies of the north. So Vidyaranya inspired these two brothers to found a kingdom which later came to be called Vijayanagara. Did you understand? Right. So this is the conquest of Kampili. So as you can see here on your screen, in 1328, you have the conquest of Kampili in the south, which was the last conquest of the Delhi Sultans in the south. So the Delhi Sultanate was able to expand beyond the Vindhyas under Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Now, Muhammad bin Tughlaq is also the person who was the first to visit the tomb of Saint Khwaja Muinuddin Chisti at Ajmer. So at Ajmer, we have this famous Sufi saint, Khwaja Muinuddin Chisti. Right? So there's a dargah there in Ajmer, Ajmer Sharif as it is called. And people even now across all religions, including Hindus, many of the Hindus also go there and pay their respects to the saint. So Khwaja Muinuddin Chisti at Ajmer. So he was the first Delhi Sultan to go visit the tomb of Khwaja Muinuddin Chisti at Ajmer. Muhammad bin Tughlaq is also the person who built the tomb of Nizamuddin Auliya at Delhi. So at Delhi we have the dargah of Hazrat Nizamuddin Auliya. So he built the dargah, Hazrat Nizamuddin Auliya. So the Hazrat Nizamuddin Auliya had specifically told that he doesn't want a roof over the top of his tomb. So once he dies, he should be buried and left open to the sky. There should not be any roof surmounting his grave. But then Muhammad bin Tughlaq used his own brain, and he has constructed a tomb, which of course with a roof. So he built the dargah of Hazrat Nizamuddin Auliya at Delhi. Muhammad bin Tughlaq is also the person who anticipated Akbar in having religious discussions with Hindu and Jain saints. You see, later when we do Akbar, we'll talk about it. Akbar was an illiterate person, but he was inquisitive to know what is there in other religions apart from Islam. So he ordered the construction of a building which came to be called Ibadat Khana at Fatehpur Sikri. Fatehpur Sikri is very near to Agra, about 40 kilometers away. So there he built a building, and there he invited scholars. Initially, only Sunni Muslims were ordered to come and speak about Islam. So once he came to know much about Islam, he invited other gurus from other religions, from Christianity, from Parsi religion, from Hinduism, from Jainism, etc. So what Akbar did much later had already been done by Muhammad bin Tughlaq when he invited Hindu and Jain saints, Jain saints like Rajshekhar, Hindu saints like Rajshekhar, and Jain saints like Jinaprabha Suri. So he anticipated Akbar in holding religious discussions with Hindu and Jain saints. So Rajshekhar, Jinaprabha Suri. He is also the person, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, who participated in Hindu festivals like Holi. So he participated in Hindu festivals and also played with the colors, which was very unique, being a Muslim king. So he was the first sultan to do that. But then we are told by Ziauddin Barani, a contemporary historian, gives us 5 projects of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. 5 projects of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, which all failed and made the Sultan very unpopular. Now, please understand, Muhammad bin Tughlaq has been called the wisest fool of the Islamic East by Isami. So, Isami calls him the wisest fool of the Islamic East. Of the Islamic East. So he has been called by different epithets: mad king, a mixture of opposites, ill-starred idealist, intense egoist, a freak of nature. So these are the various epithets used against Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Many times he was far ahead of his times. In his thinking, he was far ahead of his times, and he was also temperamentally hasty by nature. He was very hasty by nature. So any idea comes to his brain, he will implement it. He will not think about the consequences. He'll implement that idea. And then if that idea is not working, he will quickly change his mind and he'll catch on to another idea. So he was hasty, ill-balanced, okay, and temperamentally, temperamentally ill-balanced. So let's talk about the grand projects of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, which all bombed. So this is the mausoleum, the tomb of Hazrat Nizamuddin Auliya at Delhi. I have been there with one of my Muslim friends. Then, of course, he was the first sultan to visit the tomb of Khwaja Muinuddin Chishti at Ajmer. Right. So let us talk about the 5 projects of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Again, don't need to remember the dates, the year. Remember the sequence of events. If you find it difficult to remember the years, remember the sequence of events. First of all, transfer of capital from Delhi to Devagiri. On your map, you can see here. So you can see this. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq decided to transfer his capital from Delhi to Devagiri. So you can see here, this is Devagiri here, and Delhi is here. So what was the distance between Delhi and Devagiri? 600 miles, almost about 1,000 kilometers. Now, why did Muhammad bin Tughlaq decide to transfer the capital from Delhi to Devagiri? Now, if you think about him, you realize that he had some very logical reason to do that. He was not a fool, but then whatever projects he implemented failed. Now, South had been recently conquered. And he felt, since the Delhi Sultanate has expanded beyond the Vindhyas, if he has a centrally located capital, he can take care of the north as well as the south equally. So was it correct in his thinking? What about, did you understand? Was he correct in his thinking so that he can take care of both south and north equally? Okay, that's number one. Secondly, Delhi had frequent Mongol attacks. Mongol attacks began during the time of who? Kushdeep says no. You should give a reason, Kushdeep. If you differ, you should give a reason. Now, yeah, Iltutmish. So Mongol attacks began from the time of Iltutmish. Very good. Now, so Delhi was not a safe capital because of frequent Mongol raids. South India had been recently conquered, therefore he wanted to effectively administer South India as well as the north. And Devagiri, he felt, was centrally located. Right? So he decided to transfer the capital from Delhi to Devagiri. Now, please understand, no mass exodus took place. That is, entire population of Delhi was not asked to shift to Devagiri. He asked only the elite sections, the Muslim clergy, that is the religious teachers, ministers, nobles, sheikhs, the rich and the influential were asked to proceed to Devagiri. So he called Devagiri as Daulatabad, the city of paradise. So he called Devagiri as Daulatabad, the city of paradise. He renamed Devagiri as Daulatabad, and of course he laid a road. The road is Kacha road, obviously. So and then a shade. So that road was traversed through shady areas. Shady trees were there. So it was designed in such a manner that you have some shady trees on the way, and of course new saplings were also planted. Quick growing saplings were planted. And at every course, about 8 kilometers, you have a sarai or a rest house. So the rest houses were also built so that weary travelers can take rest there, drink water, eat food. For they do require fodder for their horses, mules, cattle, etc. So he arranged all those things, and then he ordered the people of Delhi to march. Now it was a peak of summer. Please understand, it was a peak of summer, and people have to travel for 1,000 kilometers. Somebody who's not used to walking even 2 kilometers has to travel for 1,000 kilometers. And during those days, you had no modern transport systems. They have to use the road, walk, camels, mules, bullock carts, horses, etc. So people became very, very tired. Many of them died on the way. And among the people who died was Isami's parents. Isami's parents died in this transfer of capital. And that's why historians don't believe what Isami says. When Isami accuses Muhammad bin Tughlaq of patricide, of having killed his father. Now, so he also came to Devagiri there. And then the Mongols came to know. The Mongols came to know that the Sultan is not there in Delhi. He is in fact far away from Delhi. So they came and plundered the outskirts of Delhi and went back. And Muhammad bin Tughlaq, after 6 years, realized that just as he was not able to control the south, sitting in the north, he could not control the north, sitting in the south. So he changed his mind. And then, after 6 years, he retransferred the capital back to Delhi and ordered the people of Devagiri, who had shifted to Delhi, from Delhi to Devagiri, to go back to Delhi. So again, many people had to travel back to Delhi, and many of them died on the way. But then many of the people who had come away from Delhi to South India, to Devagiri, that included Sufi saints, architects, engineers, painters, etc., they stayed back in Devagiri and they sought employment under the Bahmani Sultans. Right? So, so keep this in mind. This is the transfer of capital from Delhi to Devagiri. So after 6 years, he reshifted the capital back to Delhi. So this is the first experiment which failed because it involved a lot of money. So, when he had to make arrangements for logistics before he ordered the people of Delhi to shift to Devagiri. So this is the transfer of capital from Delhi to Devagiri, which failed. Secondly, we have increased land revenue in the Doab. So what is Doab here? The fertile belt of land between the Ganga and the Yamuna. So Ganga and Yamuna, that is called Ganga Yamuna Doab, the fertile belt of land between the rivers Ganga and Yamuna. So suddenly Muhammad bin Tughlaq got a brainwave. He felt that people living in the Doab, Ganga Yamuna Doab, can pay 50% land tax. Right. So he ordered the people of Ganga Yamuna Doab to pay 50% land tax. Apart from that, he imposed additional taxes on their houses, that is Ghari, that is a house tax, and the Chari, the fodder tax on the cattle, fodder tax. And Ghari is house tax. And please understand, 50% land revenue was imposed not on the actuals, but on the estimated yield. Understand this. I'll use two terminologies now. Though these are terminologies relevant to the Mughal Empire, revenue reforms of the Mughals. But this is just to make you understand. We have something called Jama and Hasil. Jama and Hasil. Now, what is Jama? Jama is the estimated income. Jama is the estimated income from land. Hasil is the actual income. So if you know a little bit of Hindi, then it will help you. Doesn't matter even otherwise. Hasil is what आपके जो हाथ में आता है, हासिल होता है. So what is Jama? Estimated income. So let us say there's a piece of land here, okay, 2 acres. Let's say 2 acres land, and somebody called A is the owner of this 2 acres of land. So A feels that if he plows the land, he waters the crop properly, safeguards the crop from animals and birds, etc., and thieves, then he can reap and harvest of about, let us say, 100 bags of paddy. He can grow, let's say, 100 bags of wheat. A hypothetical example I'm taking. So this is the Jama. Jama means estimated income. So this farmer called A estimates that he can get 100 bags of wheat or paddy from that 2 acres of land. That is estimated income, Jama. What is Hasil, actual income? So that after the harvest, the farmer might not get 100 bags of wheat. He might only get, let us say, 50 bags. Now, why? Because agriculture is subject to the vagaries of nature, the ups and downs of nature. So rains might not have come on time. It might have come very early, or it might have come intermittently, not properly, or there may have been a deluge. So part of his crop got damaged. Elephants might have come and taken a walk in the park and damaged his crops, etc. Or there may be a pest attack. So a lot of things are there, in agriculture, where the farmer might not be able to get whatever he had expected he will get. That is called hasil. Now, this 50% was charged not on the hasil, but on the jama, on the estimated income. And he also ordered the revenue officials to be very, very strict in collecting these taxes. Now, if you use your common sense, understandably, was he right in charging 50%? Because Muhammad bin Tughlaq thought Alauddin Khalji had charged 50%, right, on the entire people of his empire. Why can't the people of Ganga, Yamuna pay 50%? After all, it's a fertile area. You have two rivers, Ganga and Yamuna. Okay, fertile belt of land. So they obviously can pay 50%. That was his understanding. But what the Sultan did not know was there was a famine going on. There was a famine. Okay, so there was a drought. There was a drought going on. And therefore, that means rains had failed in that area and the farmers had not engaged in agriculture. So there was no harvest. So when there's no harvest, where can they give 50%? But the Sultan was ignorant of this fact. So the farmers began to rebel. They refused to pay the taxes. So when Muhammad bin Tughlaq came to know about it, he ordered his soldiers to teach the farmers a lesson. So what the farmers did is, they locked their houses, okay, they abandoned their houses, they left the cattle on the streets and ran away to the nearby forests. And they began to live in those forests, temporary, after setting up temporary shelters there. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq came to know farmers have abandoned their villages. They're staying in the nearby forests. So he asked his soldiers to hunt them down. Don't leave them, you punish them. Catch them and thrash them severely and let them learn their lessons. Now, why did the farmers abandon the villages? Understand this, ghari, house tax. Let's say I'm a farmer and I have a piece of land next to my house and I'm staying in that house. And also I have some cattle. So I have to pay house tax if I'm staying in that house. I have to pay cattle tax depending upon the number of cattle I have. And then also pay 50% land revenue. Okay, and then rains have failed. So how will I pay so much of money as tax? So therefore, I have abandoned the villages and run away to the neighboring forests. So there was a rebellion in that area, in the Ganga Yamuna Doab, up to Bulandshahr, there was a rebellion. And Muhammad bin Tughlaq was very, very angry. Why people are rebelling against him? And then some minister came and told him, sir, how can they pay 50%? Rains have failed. There is a drought going on. I did not know this. He said, I did not know this. You should have told me earlier. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq now established the agriculture department. Very interesting. He established the Diwan-e-Kohi agriculture department. So he established the agriculture department and began to give loans, Sondar and Takkavi loans to farmers. So he began to give loans to farmers, Sondar and Takkavi loans to farmers. And the farmers were very, very angry with him because they had received nice beatings from his soldiers. And now he has put ointment in the form of giving them loans like Sondar and Takkavi. So this particular experiment of his also failed. So this was the second experiment which failed. Are you there with me, all of you? So he was a person who was hasty in his thoughts. So any idea came, he will quickly implement, and then without thinking of the consequences. This is number two. Third is token currency. The third experiment of Muhammad bin Tughlaq is introduction of what is called token currency. So let us talk about this interesting token currency. Now, Sondar and Takkavi loans, Sondar and Takkavi loans, TAQQAVI or TAKKAVI, Sondar and Takkavi loans. Then, introduction of token currency. Now, who introduced the silver tanka and the copper jital? The official coinage of the Delhi Sultanate was the silver tanka and the copper jital. Who introduced these two coins? Anybody here? Very good, Stephen. Iltutmish. Sham says, Allah, no, Sham, Iltutmish. Please revise your lessons. Iltutmish. Iltutmish is the answer. Musarraf also says Iltutmish. Yeah, okay. So Altamish or Iltutmish. So he was the one who introduced the silver tanka and the copper jital. Now look here. During the time of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, there was a global shortage of silver. So there was even shortage of silver in his own empire. So when it's happening throughout the world, there was also a problem within his empire. So there was not enough silver. So what he did is, probably he had heard about the contemporary kings of those days. We have two kings, Gai Khatun of Iran, Gai Khatun of Persia or Iran, and Kublai Khan of China. Kublai Khan of China. These two rulers had introduced paper currency in the country. They had introduced paper currency in their country. And probably Muhammad bin Tughlaq, I said probably Muhammad bin Tughlaq had come to know about this, that these two people had introduced paper currency in their countries. So therefore, he thought about an idea. He decided to introduce bronze coins. He decided to introduce bronze coins in place of silver coins. And he declared that bronze coins is the legal tender. So the government of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, the mint, they began to make bronze coins, and he declared that the value of bronze coins will be equal to that of silver coins. Understand this: the value of bronze coin will be equal to that of silver coin henceforth. Right. So this is a brilliant idea on the part of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and for this he has been called as prince amongst moneyers by Edward Thomas. Prince amongst moneyers. So you have a British historian called Edward Thomas. Edward Thomas. He calls him prince amongst moneyers for this brilliant idea of his. Now, we Indians are not ordinary fellows. We run our own brain. We are very jugadu people also. Now, what happened is, the subjects of Muhammad bin Tughlaq's king empire came to know that this is made of bronze. These coins are made of bronze. And bronze, as you know, is an alloy of copper and tin. So it's a mixture of copper and tin. So when you mix copper and tin, you get bronze. And everybody had copper vessels in their houses. Everybody had copper vessels in their houses. They brought some tin from the market, and they began to melt copper and tin, right? And they began to make their own coins. They would mix it, and they began to make bronze coins. So everybody is busy making coins in their houses. So everybody's house became a mint. So everybody's house became a mint. So they will exactly replicate that government coin, make their own bronze coin, and they filled up their pockets with those bronze coins and went to the market to buy goods. The traders and the merchants got confused. They did not know the difference between the bronze coin and the government bronze coin and the duplicate coin. So they refused to accept any. They said, we don't want, we are not accepting. So because it had been so beautifully replicated or copied that the traders and the merchants could not know the difference between the original and the duplicate. So in other words, we have what is known as Gresham's law, which was working here. Gresham's law, that is, bad money drives out good money. Bad money drives out good money. Like, for example, you go to a market, in a basket you buy beautiful Shimla apple, let's say. On top you have very nice apples, Shimla apple, and you bring it home, right? Thinking that all the basket contains very good apples, looking at what is on the surface. But when you open the basket, you realize that many of the apples below are rotten, right? So here you don't want to again go to that shopkeeper because he has cheated you. So the bad apples have driven away even the good apples, right? So that's called Gresham's law. Bad money drives out good money. Now Muhammad bin Tughlaq came to know about this because the wheels of the economy had come to a stop. The wheels of the economy had come to a stop. There was no circulation of money happening. So when he came to know that people are not accepting any of those coins because duplicate coins have flooded the market, he thought about an idea. He said, for every bronze coin returned, understand this, for every bronze coin returned, I will replace that with a silver coin. So when people came to know about this, that if they return a bronze coin, they'll get a silver coin from the government. Overnight, people began to make more bronze coins. They began to mint more bronze coins, right? So that the treasury of Muhammad bin Tughlaq took a severe beating. So there was a drastic fall in the amount of money which was there in the treasury. So when Ibn Battuta visited India around this time, he saw heaps of bronze coins dumped on the streets of Delhi. So this is the token currency experiment of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, which failed. But please understand, this was a brilliant idea. He did not have the technology to prevent counterfeit coins. If he had the technology, then this would have worked beautifully. And that's why he's called the prince amongst moneyers, because he could not stop the counterfeit coins flooding the market. This is the third experiment of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Are you there with me? Okay, which failed. So this is the introduction of token currency. So transfer of capital, increased land revenue in the Doab, token currency. The fourth experiment is Khurasan campaign, 1330, as you can see on your screen, 1330, the Khurasan campaign. So what is this Khurasan campaign? Let's understand this. Khurasan campaign. So Khurasan in Central Asia, very near to Iraq, right? Khurasan. So there were some maesters, there were some nobles in the court of Muhammad bin Tughlaq who were from that area, from West Asia, Iraq, Khurasan, Herat, those areas. So they had come to Delhi and sought employment under Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So one day they came running to him and they told Muhammad bin Tughlaq, "Sir, why don't you think of conquering Khurasan? Because the political situation there has got weakened. There's a weak ruler there. There's a lot of political turmoil. So this is the right opportunity to conquer Khurasan." So immediately he bought that idea. As soon as it was revealed to him by these ministers, nobles, he bought that idea. He organized an army of 3.70 lakh, a separate army. So this was a separate army which was recruited, consisting of 3.70 lakh soldiers. Okay. He gave them 1 year advance salary. 1 year advance salary was given to them. And he ordered these soldiers, and those soldiers were very, very happy because they have got government job, salaried job. So every year, every month they'll get a salary. So they were very, very happy. And that too 1 year advance salary for nothing. And he had told them, you keep exercising, keep doing your war drills. And once I order you to march to Khurasan, then you have to start leaving for Khurasan. So the soldiers said, okay. So waiting for the orders of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. A few months passed by. The political situation in Central Asia changed. A very powerful ruler came to power there. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq came to know about this, that a powerful ruler has come there. The situation has changed politically. So he changed his mind. So what he did is, he dismantled this army of 3.70 lakh soldiers. He said, nobody is going to go to Khurasan and no more are you going to be called a soldier. So 3.70 lakh soldiers lost their jobs instantly. At the same time, the treasury almost became depleted because these 3.70 lakh soldiers had received 1 year advance salary for no work they had done. So this is the Khurasan campaign of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Are you there with me? Yeah? Khurasan campaign of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Right? Prince among Moneyers. He's called the Prince among Moneyers. That's a title given to him by Edward Thomas Manpreet. Okay. Rajneesh says, nice person. Now, whom are you praising, Rajneesh? Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Okay. Then we come to the last experiment of his, Karajal expedition. So where is this Karajal? In the Kuman Garhwal Himalayas. Yeah. No, Musharraf's speed post was introduced by Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq. Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq was the one who introduced speed post through horse couriers. I forgot to mention that. You can make a mention of that here. Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq introduced horse couriers. Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq, not Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq introduced horse couriers. Now, if I can ask you, so there you have a person who would run and convey the convey the message or pass on the post. So between the runner, so who is a human being, obviously, between a runner and the horse, who do you think carried the post faster? Who do you think carried the post faster? Was it the horse or the runner? No, if the answer was so obvious, horse, why would I have asked you this question? The answer is runner. Between the horse and the runner, it was the runner who transferred the post faster, because the runner can take shortcuts, right? And then he will sprint for a few hundred meters, and then he'll pass on the post to another another runner who will take off from there. So between the horse and the runner, it was the runner who transferred the message faster than the horse. Now, let us come to the Karajal expedition. Karajal expedition. So Karajal is in the Kuman Garhwal Himalayas. So Karajal was a place in the Kuman Garhwal Himalayas. So there were some rebels who had taken shelter in Karajal. So they had invited the wrath of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and they had taken shelter in those mountain heights of the Kuman Garhwal Himalayas. And Muhammad bin Tughlaq came to know about this, that these people, rebels, have taken shelter in Karajal on the mountain top. So he wanted to teach them a lesson. He thought, what if they are sitting there? I can still reach them because I'm the Sultan. So he organized an army of 10,000 soldiers. He organized an army of 10,000 soldiers and ordered them to march against these rebels who were hiding in Karajal. So the army of Muhammad bin Tughlaq began to climb the mountains. Understand this? They began to climb the mountain of the Kuman Garhwal Himalayas. And those rebels from top were watching the army approaching, climbing up. So those rebels ran away towards Tibet. So the army of Muhammad bin Tughlaq reached the mountain top, and they came to know that there were no rebels there because they had run away towards Tibet. And the message was conveyed to Muhammad bin Tughlaq that they have run away towards Tibet. What to do now? So Muhammad bin Tughlaq ordered the soldiers, "Chodne ka nahi, picha karne ka." You should not leave them. You just follow them and you kill them or arrest them. So the soldiers had to follow these rebels towards Tibet, who had run away towards Tibet. And please understand, this is rarefied atmosphere. This is this is not the Annamalai Hills or the Nilgiri Hills. This is Kuman Garhwal Himalayas, where there is biting cold and you also have snowfall. Okay, so here the army of Muhammad bin Tughlaq had simple clothes like a shirt and a pant, and they had to climb they had to chase these rebels towards Tibet, and there was snowfall. There was snowfall, so their teeth were chattering, they were shivering. They did not have the proper gear to fight in this particular type of a weather. But then they had to comply with the orders of the Sultan. So there was frostbite. So they are suffering from frostbite. Then hypothermia set in. Hypothermia is where the body loses its heat quickly. So that set in. And of course, you have plague. So caused by rats. So the rats had contaminated the food supply of Muhammad bin Tughlaq's army. So rat feces, rat urine had contaminated the provisions. So food was cooked and then given to the soldiers, and obviously it will enter their tummies, and then it will spoil their health. And they were suffering from plague. So here, out of the 10,000 soldiers who went in this Karajal expedition, only 3 officers returned alive. 3 officers returned alive, and the rest had died because of plague and frostbite. And these 3 officers narrated the incident to Muhammad bin Tughlaq. And Muhammad bin Tughlaq simply brushed it off, said that it is okay, we can't do anything about it. So these are the 5 experiments of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, which failed. And in the last decade of his rule, 34 rebellions took place. 34 rebellions took place. 27 of them took place in South India. 27 rebellions out of the 34 took place in South India, and a number of kingdoms were founded. For example, we have Sayyid Hasan Shah of Mabar established the Madurai Sultanate. The Sultanate of Madurai was established by Sayyid Hasan Shah of Mabar. This is number 1. Then, of course, we have number 2 here, I'll write. Vijayanagara Kingdom was founded in 1336 by 2 brothers, Harihara and Bukka. So Hakka Bukka, as they're called infamously. Harihara and Bukka established Vijayanagara. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq was still alive when these kingdoms were established. So the Sultanate of Madurai was established. Vijayanagara came to be established, and another officer of Muhammad bin Tughlaq called Hassan Gangu established the Bahmani kingdom. So Bahmani kingdom was established in 1347 by Hassan Gangu. So these are the most popular kingdoms established during the time of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So you have revolts taking place because of these policies of his, the projects of his which failed. People were not happy with Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and a number of revolts began to take place. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq that is the time when he applied for a Mansur. That's the time when Muhammad bin Tughlaq applied for a Mansur, and he got a Mansur. Initially, he never cared about the Khalifa. He never bothered about the Khalifa. Once rebellions began to take place, he sent a lot of gifts to the Khalifa and received a Mansur from him. Now, he began to put down those revolts one after another. And finally, we have a person called Thagi. A person called Thagi. He was a rebel from Gujarat. Thagi. This Thagi rebelled. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq marched against Thagi. And this fellow ran away into Sindh. He ran away towards Sindh. And so on the way, while he was following Thagi towards Sindh, at a place called Thatta, Muhammad bin Tughlaq died. And when Muhammad bin Tughlaq died, Ziauddin Barani tells us that the king was freed from his people and they from him. The king was freed from his people and they from him. That is, people rejoiced when they came to know that he had died. Muhammad bin Tughlaq had no children. Therefore, his cousin Firuz succeeded him to the throne. That is, Muhammad bin Tughlaq's father's eldest brother's son. Okay, so Muhammad bin Tughlaq's father, that is Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq's eldest brother's son, by name Firuz, succeeded him to the throne. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq was succeeded by his cousin Firuz Shah Tughlaq. So this is about about Muhammad bin Tughlaq. I'll talk about Firuz in some time after the break. We'll go for a break now, 15 minutes break, and we'll come back. Yeah, so the Sultanate of Madurai, Kennedy. Yeah. Any achievement of Muhammad bin Tughlaq? I have discussed, Rajneesh, about Muhammad bin Tughlaq in detail. So, right. So he established the agriculture department. That is one particular achievement of his, Rajneesh. Another is, of course, we have a gold coin called dirham. So according to Ibn Battuta, he says that he introduced a gold coin called dirham. So Ibn Battuta says that. Then this experiment of introducing bronze coins was a great work on the part of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. It was a very innovative idea of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He expanded the Delhi Sultanate beyond that of the Vindhyas. So that was another achievement of his, right? So, and of course, he built the tomb of Hazrat Nizamuddin Aulia. He was tolerant in his attitude, rationalist, as I told you. So all those things are his achievements. So Kennedy, the Madurai Sultanate, around the time of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, it was built, it was established. Later, you have one of the Vijayanagar kings who ended the Madurai Sultanate. When I come to Vijayanagara, we'll talk about it. So these are the 34 rebellions in the last decade, last 10 years of his rule. And out of the 34 rebellions, 27 of them happened in the south itself, in the last 10 years of his rule. Rationalist is somebody who reasons, cause and effect. Not blindly believe anything, questioning, and only when that answer makes sense, then you believe an idea. Okay, so we'll go for a break here, 15 minutes break, we'll come back. What is mentioned, Sahil? Is it mentioned in PPT text? Yeah, everything is there. Don't worry. Whatever I've discussed, it is there in the PPT. But please also read a textbook. Kannada origin theory, Zeba. Another is the Kannada origin theory. I'll repeat both the theories when I do Vijayanagara. So we'll go for a break now. You will come back in another 15 minutes. So it's about 7:45 now. We'll meet at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock. We'll meet at 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. Okay, so we'll come back. Yeah, good morning once again. Can we continue? All of you are back. Audible and visible. Am I audible and visible? Can we begin? Okay. So the next sultan to come to power was, of course, Firuz Shah Tughlaq, the cousin of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Now, Firuz had a long reign. You see, so Firuz Shah Tughlaq ruled for about 38 years. And what we noticed during his period is absence of famines, epidemics, serious foreign invasions, political turmoil. All those things did not happen during his period. People enjoyed a lot of peace and prosperity. You have cheap prices, high wages, etc. Firuz also was the person who brought an end to this practice of harming the previous sultan's family. So whenever there was a new sultan belonging from another family, he would harm the family of the relations of the previous sultan, the family and relations of the previous sultan. So Firuz did not do anything like that. He was not a great commander. He was not a great general on the battlefield. He tried to conquer Bengal 2 times, and both the times he failed. So you can see on your screen, 1353 and 1359, he tried to conquer Bengal. And whenever an attack, you have the Ilyas Shahi dynasty. The Ilyas the Ilyas Shahi dynasty. That was the dynasty which ruled Bengal during those days. And whenever you have Firuz attacking the kingdom of Bengal, the Sultan would go and hide in this fort called Igdala. So he would go and hide in this fort called Igdala. This was a strong fort, an impregnable fort. So with all the rations and the supplies, which would last maybe for a year or more, maybe even more. So they will go and shut themselves in this fort of Igdala and defend themselves from there. So twice he tried to conquer Bengal. Both the times he failed, and frustrated Firuz was returning back from his Bengal campaign. So then what he did is he suddenly changed direction. He attacked Orissa. So neighboring state is Orissa, as you know. So he attacked Orissa, and we have the king of Orissa during those days, Bhanudeva the second. So Bhanudeva the third. I'm sorry, Bhanudeva the third. So he was defeated, and the Jagannath temple at Puri was desecrated. That is, he looted and plundered the Puri Jagannath temple. Then in his Nagarkot campaign, he also desecrated the Jwalamukhi temple. So Nagarkot is identified with Kangra in present day Himachal Pradesh. We have an area called Kangra. So earlier it was called Nagarkot. So he also desecrated or looted and plundered the Jwalamukhi temple there. And in that temple, there were 1300 Sanskrit manuscripts. There were 1300 Sanskrit manuscripts written on palm leaves. So Firuz ordered that those Sanskrit manuscripts be translated into Persian language. So this is this is the first. He was the first sultan to order Sanskrit books be translated into Persian language. So Sanskrit books to translate into Persian language. He was the first sultan to do that. Then he also wrote his autobiography called Futuhati Firushahi. So these the Persian version of these Sanskrit manuscripts came to be called Dalai-i Firushahi, right? So Firuz also wrote his autobiography, Futuhat-i Firushahi, Futuhat-i Firushahi. So he was the king first king in the history of India to write his own autobiography. So first king in India's history to write his autobiography, right? So Firuz Shah Tughlaq. Now Firuz made Iktas hereditary. Very interesting. This is Firuz made Iktas hereditary. Who introduced Ikta system? Who introduced Ikta system? If I might ask. Hello, Ikta system. Iltutmish. Very good, Stephen. Very good. Musarraf Harika. So Ikta system was introduced by Iltutmish. Now, Ikta system was made hereditary by Firuz. very interestingly. So, Iqtadar, who's the older of an Iqta? He is an Iqtadar. Iqtadar, who was given police powers, that is, maintaining law and order in that area, collecting land revenue, and acting as the judge in that area. So he was called the Iqtadar, as you all know. Now, Firuz made this office of the Iqtadar hereditary. So after the officer dies, after the Iqtadar dies, that particular office will go to his son automatically. If that Iqtadar has no son, it will go to his son-in-law. If that Iqtadar has no son-in-law or son, then it will go to his slave. So he made Iqtas hereditary, and this affected the efficiency of the administration adversely. So Iqtadar might be a very capable officer. So he is the governor of that place, and he has brought about a lot of efficient administration. But then his son may be a useless fellow. But then once the Iqtadar dies, that office goes to his son or his son-in-law or his slave. Similarly, he introduced this hereditary principle even in the army. So let's say there's an army officer. Okay, he dies, then his son becomes the same. Occupies that office of his father, or his son-in-law occupies it, or his slave occupies it. So let's say the officer is a very capable person who died, but his son is a carpenter. But now that fellow becomes the officer. Or he's a barber. Let us say his son is a barber. What will he fight in the war? When he is only doing the job of a carpenter or a barber. But then, so this adversely affected the efficiency and the fighting capacity of the army too. Now, Firuz is called the Akbar of the Delhi Sultanate. He's called the Akbar of the Delhi Sultanate. Why? Because of his welfare-oriented programs. He established the Diwani Khairat, or the welfare department. And one of the duties of this welfare department was to give pensions to old age people. It gave pensions to old age people. It also married off poor Muslim girls at state expense. Poor Muslim girls were also married off at state expense. So Diwani Khairat established the welfare department. Firuz had a peculiar hobby of collecting slaves. So he established the Diwani Bandagani, that is the Department of Slaves, and he collected 1.80 lakh slaves. 1.80 lakh slaves. And how did he employ? What did he do with these slaves? He employed them in the royal karkhanas. You have the royal workshops, small scale and cottage industries, or royal karkhanas. So these slaves were employed in these royal karkhanas. Has carpenters, has masons, etc., carpet weavers, like that. So that is Diwani Bandagani. Firuz also established the Public Works Department, PWD Department, Public Works Department, and he was a great builder. He built a number of cities. Like, for example, he built the city of Hisar. He founded the city of Hisar. He founded Jaunpur, Hisar in Haryana, Jaunpur in UP, then Fatehabad, Firozabad, Firozpur, and Firozabad. And Firozabad happened to be the fifth city of Delhi, as you know, and now it is called Kotla Firoz Shah. Kotla Firoz Shah. And interestingly, Firuz wanted to beautify Firozabad. He wanted to beautify Firozabad. So there were two Ashokan pillars at Topara and Meerut. There were two Ashokan pillars here, Topara in Haryana and Meerut in UP. So these two Ashokan pillars were brought to Delhi, to Firozabad, and installed there. So because he wanted to beautify the city of Firozabad. Firuz is also the person who separated the land tax, Kharaj. So he separated the land tax, Kharaj, from the jizya. So he was the first king to collect jizya as a separate tax. So earlier it was part of the land tax. So the Arabs, as you know, introduced jizya, and it was called Kharaj jizya because it was Kharaj is land tax. So it was collected as part of the land tax. So here he separated the Kharaj from the jizya, and he imposed jizya even on the Brahmins. So Brahmins also had to pay jizya. You remember when I did Arab conquest of Sindh, the Arabs all had excused the Brahmins from the payment of jizya, apart from the children and women and slaves. So jizya was made compulsory on the Brahmins by Firuz Tughlaq. Firuz excused almost about 24 taxes. He excused about 24 taxes or let go of 24 taxes. And only what was allowed in Islam, only those taxes he imposed. So what are the four taxes he allowed in Islam? One is jizya. So he collected jizya. He collected zakat. Zakat is 2.5% tax on property. 2.5% tax on property. So alms giving alms is part of Islam. So during Bakrid, Ramzan, etc., Muslims are expected to give the poor and the needy alms. So zakat is 2.5% tax on property, which the Muslims had to pay. Then, of course, we have the khums, king share, 20%, 20% comes. So jizya, zakat comes, and um, Kharaj was a land tax. Kharaj was the land tax, land revenue. Right. So these are the four taxes which he only applied on applied and collected. The only non-Islamic tax, he collected was the Haqqi Sharab. Haqqi Sharab was the irrigation tax. Haqqi Sharab. Irrigation tax of 10%. So this is a 10% tax on irrigation. So this is the only non-Islamic tax collected by him. So this is about Firuz Tughlaq, and of course, as you know, during his time, there's a lightning. The lightning struck the Qutub Minar, and the fourth tower was damaged. He got the fourth tower repaired and added a fifth tower or a fifth story to the Qutub Minar. Firuz Tughlaq. Now, towards the end of his rule, Firuz, appointed one of his sons as his successor, Prince Muhammad. But the slaves drove away this Prince Muhammad, and therefore Firuz chose another person as his successor, and he died. So there was a lot of power struggle after the death of Firuz Tughlaq, and ultimately we have a person called Nasruddin Muhammad Tughlaq. Nasruddin Muhammad Tughlaq, who ascended the throne as Nasruddin Muhammad Tughlaq, who ascended the throne. And during the time of Nasruddin Muhammad Tughlaq, we have the attack of Taimur Lang or Taimur Lame, as he's called. He was Langra Admi, lame person. So he was from Samarkand, ruler of Samarkand. So he felt that Nasruddin Muhammad Tughlaq was very lenient towards the Hindus. So he attacked Delhi in 1398-99. And a person called Syed Khizr Khan, who was the governor of Multan. He was governor of Multan. He supported this Taimur. So with the help of Khizr Khan, Taimur plundered Delhi, and 50,000 people were hacked to death on the streets of Delhi. And he carried away a huge amount of wealth from India, this Taimur. Now, after Taimur left, this Khizr Khan, Khizr Khan had been appointed as the governor of Multan, Lahore, Dipalpur by this Taimur. So once Taimur left, Khizr Khan ended the Tughlaq dynasty and established the Sayyid dynasty, and he became the founder of the Sayyid dynasty. Now, one more thing I forgot to mention about Firuz is he built a number of canals in present-day Haryana. So in present-day Haryana, so you can see here 5 canals he built. Yamuna to Hisar, the longest of the canals. Yamuna to Firuzabad, Ghagra to Firuzabad, Satluj to Ghagra, and on the borders of Mandal, precincts of Mandal and Sirmur Hills to Hansi. So these are the 5 canals which he built. Mostly they are found in the present day district of Haryana, in the state of Haryana. I'm sorry, in the state of Haryana, right? So, um, so this is about Firuz Shah Tughlaq and the Tughlaqs. So the Tughlaqs were succeeded by the Sayyids, right? So the Tughlaqs were succeeded by the Sayyids. So nothing much to talk about the Sayyids and the Lodhis who succeeded the Sayyids. We'll talk about it now anyway. Sayyid Khizr Khan was the founder. So he gave away a lot of powers to the Iqtadars. So Sayyid Khizr Khan is the first ruler not to call him, he was the second ruler not to call himself Sultan, and the first person who was not a sovereign ruler. So what is sovereignty? You are, you're supreme. You're not accountable to anybody, both internally and externally. But then Sayyid Khizr Khan ruled as the representative of Timur. So therefore, and he did not call himself as independent, right? So therefore, he was not a sovereign ruler, has ruled as a representative of Timur, and he did not assume the title of Sultan. So he was the second person not to assume the title of Sultan, because the first person was Qutbuddin Aibak. Aibak never called himself as Sultan. So he was the second person to call himself Sultan. And Sayyid Khizr Khan gave away a lot of powers to the Iqtadars. So you have the Iqtadars becoming very, very powerful. So you have transition from centralization to provincialism under the Sayyids. So that is called provincialism. So right? So transition from centralized monarchy to regionalism or provincialism in administration. So the province became more important than the central government as such. So Sayyid Khizr Khan was succeeded by his son Mubarak Shah, so who assumed the title of Sultan. He patronized a scholar called Yahya bin Ahmad Sarhinda or Sarhindi, who wrote Tariq-i Mubarak Shahi. So Tariq-i Mubarak Shahi is in honor of this Mubarak Shah, written by Yahya bin Ahmed Sarhindi. Now, he founded the city of Mubarakabad on the banks of the river Yamuna, and later you have disaffected nobles who did not like him, beheaded this Mubarak Shah. So that was the end of Mubarak Shah. Then he was followed by another king, that is Muhammad Shah. So when Muhammad Shah Muhammad Shah Said was the king at Delhi, we have the ruler of Malwa, Mahmud Khalji of Malwa in Madhya Pradesh. He attacked Delhi, and Muhammad Shah sought the help of Bahlol Lodi, who was the governor of Multan, which is now in Pakistan. So this Bahlol Lodi was the governor of Multan. Muhammad Shah asked Bahlol Lodi to help him against this attack of Mahmud Khalji of Malwa. So Bahlol Lodi came with his army, helped Muhammad Shah to repel the attack of Mahmud Khalji of Malwa. So thereupon, once the attack was repelled, this Muhammad Shah bestowed a title on Bahlol Lodi called Khani Khanan or Great Khan. Khani Khanan means Great Khan. Great Khan. Right? And after Muhammad Shah, we have a person called Alauddin Alam Shah, or Alauddin Shah Alam, who took the title of Shah Alam, Alauddin Shah Alam. And contemporary poets used to make fun of him. The Delhi Sultanate had drastically declined in terms of its size, because many kingdoms had been born after Firuz Shah Tughlaq died. Many kingdoms became independent. Many areas became independent. So the Delhi Sultanate territory had been reduced to a small area. Therefore, the contemporary historians in Persian language made fun of him, stating Sultanat Sultanat Shah Alam, Dilli Ta Palam. Sultanat Shah Alam, Dilli Ta Palam. That is, the Delhi Sultan was called the Lord of the Universe. So they used to make fun of him, stating the Lord of the Universe rules from Delhi to Palam. Palam is where you have the airport in Delhi, isn't it? The Palam airport. So the Lord of the Universe rules from Delhi to Palam. Such a big universe he has, such a big empire he had. So that's how he was made fun of by the contemporary poets and historians. Either way, this Alauddin Shah Alam was not interested in ruling. He wanted to go to his private estate at Budon in UP and take rest and enjoy his farming and estate. So he gave away the throne. He gave away the throne to Bahlol Lodi, and he went away to Budon. In fact, Bahlol Lodi allowed him to enjoy his personal estate at Budon. So this was how the Lodis come to power. Did you understand? This is how the Lodis come to power. So Komal, this is factual in nature. Whatever I'm telling you just now after the break is factual in nature. That's why I have gone a little fast. Whatever is there in the PPT, whatever I have discussed, it is there in the PPT. Most of them are there, right? City founded, Manpreet, he was the one who established those cities, founded those cities. Who is the greatest king of the Tughlaq dynasty? Greatest is supposedly Muhammad bin Tughlaq, because he took the territory of the Delhi Sultanate beyond the Vindhyas. So he is considered to be the greatest, right? So yeah, today's PPTs will be sent to you. I'll follow that up. Now we'll come back here. So Bahlul Lodi allowed this Muhammad Shah to Alauddin Shah Alam to enjoy his personal estate at Budaun, and we have the Lodis who succeeded the Sayyids. So the next dynasty which comes to power are the Lodis. Lodis were Afghans by race, as you know. So among the 5 dynasties which ruled Delhi Sultanate, the Lodis were Afghans. The others were all Turks by race. So Bahlul Lodi was the founder of the Lodi dynasty, first Afghan ruler of Delhi. This was also the first Afghan dynasty. The second Afghan dynasty is, anybody can answer, if Lodis were the first Afghan dynasty to rule Delhi, which was the second Afghan dynasty to rule Delhi? Very good, Rajneesh. Rajneesh and Kushdeep. Musarraf also, very good. The Suri dynasty. The Suri dynasty under Sher Shah Suri or Sher Shah Sur. Sher Shah was able to oust the Humayun and establish the second Afghan dynasty, that is the Suri dynasty. So the Lodis were the first Afghans to rule Delhi. He conquered Jaunpur, thus ending the Sharki dynasty at Jaunpur. So Bahlul Lodi ended the rule of the Sharki kings at Jaunpur. So during the time of Nasruddin Mahmud Tughlaq, the last of the Tughlaqs, when Taimur attacked Delhi, who was the king? Nasruddin Mahmud Tughlaq. Nasruddin Muhammad Tughlaq. So that is the time when the Sharki dynasty had been established at Jaunpur. During the time of Bahlul Lodi, we have Bahlul Lodi conquering Jaunpur, thus ending the Sharki dynasty there. He introduced a copper coin called Bahloli. A copper coin called Bahloli was introduced by him. Then we have Sikandar Lodi, who succeeded Bahlul Lodi. Sikandar Lodi was born to a Hindu mother. He conquered Bihar and then entered into a non-aggression pact with the ruler of Bengal, Alauddin Hussein Shah of Bengal. So you have the king of Bengal with whom he entered into a non-aggression pact. That is, Sikandar will not attack Bengal, and the Bengal king should not attack Delhi. So that is non-aggression pact. Sikandar was the person who founded the city of Agra, and this was in 1504 when he founded Agra, and this was to keep a control over the refractory Rajput kings of northwest India. So the rebellious Rajput kings. So to keep control over those Rajput Rajas, he established the city of Agra in 1504 and made it his capital. He also introduced a measuring yard, where the land is measured. That is called Gaz-i-Sikandari. It was named after him. Gaz-i-Sikandari, a measuring yard, a measuring instrument, measuring land, instrument to measure land. Sikandar was, of course, intolerant towards the Hindus, but then he allowed the translation of a Sanskrit book on medicine into Persian language under the title Farangi Sikandari. So this book came to be called Farangi Sikandari, a medical book translated from Sanskrit into Persian language. Then Sikandar was also a Persian poet of repute. He wrote under the pen name Gulrukhi. So that was his pen name, Gulrukhi. Nom de plume, nom de plume in French. So he wrote Persian verses under the pen name Gulrukhi. And he also tried to control the fluctuation of prices in the markets through persuasion. So Alauddin Khalji, remember, we have done market reforms of Alauddin Khalji. Alauddin Khalji tried to keep the prices of essential commodities stable through force. Sikandar Lodi also tried to keep the prices of the essentials in the market through persuasion. So he persuaded the traders not to artificially inflate the prices. So through persuasion, he tried to control the prices of the market, of the goods in the market. Therefore, it is called market control through persuasion. So this is about Sikandar Lodi. Sikandar was succeeded by Ibrahim Lodi. So this Ibrahim is considered to be the last Lodi ruler, and he had many enemies. His rule was not like he was not liked by many Afghans. Afghans are very freedom loving. They don't like to be accountable to anybody. It's difficult to rule Afghanistan for that reason, because they are free spirited people, very independent minded, right? And you look at the cricket they play, they don't care about anybody. They are very free spirited and very, very bold. So Ibrahim Lodi was not liked by many Afghans, and three people invited a certain Babar who was ruling over Kabul to attack India, attack Delhi. They said, "You attack Delhi, we will help you." Now, who are these three people who invited Babar to attack Delhi? One was Daulat Khan Lodi, the governor of Punjab. So Daulat Khan Lodi sent his son Dilawar Khan. He sent one representative called Dilawar Khan to Kabul, Dilawar Khan Lodi to Kabul to as his ambassador. So he sends him as his ambassador, inviting Babur to attack Delhi. So Dilawar Khan was sent as his representative to Kabul. And of course, Alam Khan Lodi, the uncle of Ibrahim Lodi. And the third ruler to send an emissary asking Babur to attack Delhi was Rana Sangram Singh or Rana Sangha of Mewar. So these three people separately sent ambassadors to Kabul to invite Babur to attack Delhi. In other words, each did not know that the other two had already sent representatives to invite Babur to attack Delhi. Now, why these three people invited Babur, I'll tell you later. So Babur was ruling over Kabul. He had already conquered a few forts on the border areas of India. He was planning a fifth attack for the fifth time. And then when these three people invited him, he came. He came and he prepared the field of Panipat. He came much in advance, about 8 days in advance. And day and night, he along with his soldiers prepared the battle plan, prepared the battlefield of Panipat. And then the fateful battle happened on the 21st of April, 1526. Babur's army numbered 12,000, whereas Ibrahim Lodi's army numbered 1 lakh. So 12,000 versus 1 lakh. But then in this battle, the first battle of Panipat, as it is called, which took place on April the 21st, 1526, it was Babur who won the battle. And Ibrahim Lodi was killed on the battlefield. He was the only Delhi Sultan to die on the battlefield. The only credit to Ibrahim Lodi is that he was the only Delhi Sultan to die on the battlefield. And Babur went and sat on the throne of Delhi. So we'll talk about this battle, the first battle of Panipat, when I start the Mughal chapter in some time. So this is about the end of the Delhi Sultanate. We have Babur who established the Mughal Empire after killing Ibrahim Lodi in the first battle of Panipat. Right? So this is the battle plan of Babur. I'll explain that, very interesting, when I come to the Mughal chapter in some time today. So we will look at the other aspects of the Delhi Sultanate. We have the empire, the Delhi Sultanate Empire, divided into provinces. So on your screen, it was divided into provinces. Provinces were called Iktas, under a governor or an officer called Iktadar, also called Naim or Wali. So what was the duty of the Iktadar? His duty was to maintain law and order. Law and order, you know that. Collect land revenue and act as a judge. And when the king went to war, to assist the king in his wars with his army. So Iktadars were transferable. Okay, it was not hereditary. The king could always take away the Ikta of an Iktadar. So then the provinces were subdivided into districts called Shik. Right, so you can put an arrow mark like this. So Shiks under a Shikdar. So he also performed the same duties like that of an Iktadar at the district level, maintaining law and order, collecting land revenue. Below the district came the Pargana, something like a taluk, a group of villages under a Faujdar. And then we have a village under Quds and Mukaddams. Quds and Mukaddams, hereditary revenue headmen. They were the hereditary revenue heads of the villages. So once the Iqtidar collected the land revenue, there may be some times when he has collected more than what was the amount allowed to be collected. So that excess amount which he collected was called Fawazil. He was supposed to send that Fawazil to the central government. Excess amount was supposed to be sent to the to the central government. So he will collect the taxes from the farmers. Then he will keep some money for his own personal expenses, some money for paying the officers and soldiers salaries, and the rest he is supposed to send it back to the government. That's called fawazil, and he was supposed to send it back to the central government, right? Rajneesh, they did the Rajneesh, the Delhi Sultans did use modern methods, whatever modern methods of warfare there existed during those days. I told you the concave saddle, the iron stirrup, and the iron shoes, the composite bow, all those were used by the Delhi Sultans at that point in time. But then it was a feudal system of warfare. They did not have gunpowder. Babur had gunpowder with him. The Delhi army did not have gunpowder. I'll come to that. Just hold on. Okay. Kashish. What is Kashish? What's your answer? Okay, then measurements of land. Measurement is measuring the land. How do you collect the taxes without measuring the land? You're supposed to measure the land and see how much tax can be imposed on that piece of land, because lands belong to so many farmers. And they're next to each other. So the land is measured and then tax is imposed on that. Right. So we look at other aspects. You look at the administration of the Delhi Sultanate. Sultan was the head of the state, so all the powers were in the hands of the Sultan. He was the supreme executive, legislative, judicial authority, right? And there was no definite law of succession. We have seen this. It was the sword which decided the issue mostly. So there was no definite law of succession amongst the Delhi Sultan. So if a Sultan has 10 sons, all the sons are equally eligible to become the next Sultan. It was not that only the eldest has the preference. No, all the sons have equal right to become the Sultan, and the Sultan might have his own favorite. But then what happens after his death is a different question. Now, so we have certain departments here. Deputy Sultan is called Naib Sultan. So you see, Malik Kafur was made Naib Sultan, Deputy Sultan by Alauddin Khalji. So he's a Deputy Sultan. Wazir was the Prime Minister and also the Finance Minister, head of the department, Finance Department called Diwani Wazarat. So remember these terminologies, please. Administrative terminologies. Diwani Wazarat was the Finance Department headed by the Wazir or the Prime Minister, who was also the Finance Minister. The military department was the Diwani Aris. Who established the military department? Who established the military department? Who established the military department? No, not Alauddin Khalji. It was Balban. Balban established the military department, the Diwani Aris, and appointed a commander, Aris Mamalik. Right? So that was Balban. So then we have the Department of Royal Correspondence, Diwani Insha, under Amir Munshi or a Dabir. Then Diwani Risalat, Religious and Endowment Department, all the masjids, the dargahs, maktabs, etc. They were all, under the control of the Endowment Department, Religious and Endowment Department, called Diwani Risalat, under the Sadar Sadar. Head of the Law Department was the Qazi ul Kuzat. The Qazi was the head. Intelligence Department, Diwani Barid. Who introduced the Intelligence Department? Who introduced the Spy Department or the Intelligence Department? That is automatic, Garvit. Sadar Sadar, that is automatically, it has come like that. I have no control over it. Alauddin, very good. Alauddin Khalji established the Spy Department. Head of the cavalry was called Akur Bek. Head of the Royal Elephants, Superintendent of Royal Elephants, Daroga Ipil. Right? So then other terminologies, Barid were spies and intelligence officers. Remember, Alauddin Khalji appointed Barids and Muniyas to keep a check on these nobles and also over the market. Vakilidar, in charge of royal household, that is palace and karkhanas, workshops. Amir Hajib or Amir Barbak was the master of ceremonies. That is, you have a certain precedence in which the courtiers were made to sit in the royal court, and you have ceremonies performed, like for example, the coronation ceremony or the birthday of the king, etc. They were all supervised by the Amir Hajib or the Amir Barbak, including seating officials in the order of their seniority. Then Amiri Majlis, in charge of royal parties. You have royal parties, Amiri Majlis. Bodyguards were called Jandars. So, what are the changes in the economy and commerce? We have the silver tanka and the copper jital introduced by Iltutmish. So, that was the official coinage of the Delhi Sultanate, silver tanka and the copper jital. New crafts were introduced by the Turks, like paper manufacturing. So, 13th century, we have introduction of paper in India by the Turks, and also the spinning wheel, the charkha, as it is called, Mahatma Gandhi's charkha, the spinning wheel. Important port was Cambay in Gujarat. You have introduction of gear mechanism as regards drawing water from the surface for irrigation and drinking water purposes. So the Persian wheel was the Persian wheel was called Sakya. The Sakya was the Persian wheel. So this Persian wheel was fitted with something like a gear, so that it'll have different rotation circumference. So it will rotate in different radiuses, and then it will draw water from a deeper level for irrigation. So that is called gear mechanism. That was fixed to the Persian wheel or Sakya. Then Alauddin Khilji established a highly efficient postal system. Though horse couriers were introduced by Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq, as we have seen. So I have put a note on Amir Khusro. He served seven sultans from Balban to Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq. So he was in the courts of all the sultans from Balban to Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq. He was a disciple of Hazrat Nizamuddin Auliya. This Amir Khusro, more of a poet than a historian, and he is called the first poet of the Hindavi language, which is the precursor to both Hindi and Urdu, the Hindavi language. And he was given the title of Parrot of India. Who called him Parrot of India? Amir Khusro was called Parrot of India by whom? Kushdeep says Alauddin Khalji. Very good. Alauddin Khalji is the answer. Alauddin Khalji called him Parrot of India. And these are the books written by Amir Khusro. Khazain al-Futuh talks about the military conquest of Alauddin Khalji, including the Deccan campaigns of Malik Kafur. And we have the first description of Jauhar in Persian given in this particular book. Nusifir, reign of Mubarak Khalji, that is the son of Alauddin Khalji, Mubarak Khalji, and it praises India as paradise on earth. Nusifir. Ashika or Deval Rani Khizar Khani. This is the love story, romance of Devala Devi and Khizar Khan. You remember the Gujarat king was, Gujarati king had run away with his daughter Devala Devi to Maharashtra, to the Yadava kingdom. And later Malik Kafur defeated Ramachandra Deva. The Gujarat king was killed. Devala Devi was sent was captured and sent to Delhi. And Devala Devi married Khizar Khan. So this is the love story or romance of Devala Devi. Deval Rani Khizar Khani, calls it Deval Rani Khizar Khani. Deval Rani is none other than Devala Devi. Devala Devi, the daughter of Kamala Devi, born Kamala Devi, and of course the Gujarat king Rai Karan. Right, then of course Kiran, Futu, Miftul, Futu. These are all the books written by Amir Khusro. So Amir Khusro also found a number of ragas, Ayman, Gora, Sanam. These are the ragas found by him, singing ragas. Gora, Ayman, Sanam. We are told that he is the person who invented sitar, though there is a dispute regarding this, and also tabla. Tabla and sitar were supposedly invented by Amir Khusro. So this is the picture I got in one of the magazines. The Sufi saint Nizamuddin Auliya's residence. This is called Chilla Nizamuddin Auliya in Delhi. So let us look at the questions from this particular topic before we go to the Mughal Empire. All of you, are you clear? Any doubts till now? Any doubts? Any clarity required? All of you are clear? So remember those 5 sultans or 5 or 6 I mentioned of the Iltutmish, Balban, Alauddin Khalji, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, Firuz Shah Tughlaq. The rest are all small players in this chapter called Delhi Sultanate. Right? They're small players. So remember these 5 rulers. Ketan Babar, will come to Babar, just hold on. After consolidating his power, Balban assumed the grand title of what? So Balban assumed the grand title of Zilli Ilahi, the shadow of God. Zilli Ilahi, shadow of God. Then consider the following statements. The correct chronological order in which they were built. So who built Tughlaqabad fort? First, let us answer that. Tughlaqabad fort. Tughlaqabad fort was built by Tughlaqs. Which Tughlaq? Garvit, which Tughlaq? Ghiasuddin Tughlaq. Arey, not Firuz, not MBT. It was Ghiasuddin. Tughlaqabad fort built by Ghiasuddin Tughlaq. Okay, then Lodi Gardens belong to the Lodis, as you know. Qutub Minar built by whom? Built by Qutub Minar, Iltutmish. And Fatehpur Sikri built by Akbar. Now you try to arrange it in a chronological order. That is, they're asking a chronological order. For first comes what? First comes, of course, the Qutub Minar, isn't it? First comes number 3. Then we have the Tughlaqabad fort built by Ghiasuddin Tughlaq. That comes 1. Then Lodi is, with the last to come, Lodi is. And then, of course, Fatehpur Sikri was built by Akbar. So 3124 is the answer. 3124 is the answer. Okay. Fawazil in the Sultanate period means what? 1998 question. We have done this. Excess amount paid to the exchequer by the Iqtadars. That's the answer. Excess amount paid to the exchequer by the Iqtadars. So Iqtadar will collect the land revenue and above, after defraying the expenses, his personal expenses, whatever was required for his for paying the salaries, the rest he is supposed to send it to the central government. That is called Fawazil. We discussed that. Who was the last ruler of the Tughlaq dynasty of the Delhi Sultanate? Who was the last ruler? During whose period you have Taimur attacking 1398-99. Nasruddin Muhammad Tughlaq. Nasruddin Mahmud Tughlaq. He was the last Tughlaq ruler. Then let us understand this question. Muhammad bin Tughlaq issued a new gold coin which was called dinar by Ibn Battuta. The statement is correct. Reasoning, Muhammad bin Tughlaq wanted to issue token currency in gold coins to promote trade with West Asian and North African countries. So this is wrong. He never issued token currency in gold coins. It was bronze. So therefore, the answer is A is true, R is false. This is the answer. Easy, isn't it? I think relatively easy. We have discussed this in detail, but if we look at the questions, it's easy. Do you agree with me? Historian and work. Some other questions I've added here. Minaj Siraj, Hasan Nizami, Isami, Ziauddin Barani. So Isami writes Futuh Salatin, as you know. Ziauddin Barani, Tariq-i Firuz Shahi. Hasan Nizami writes Tajul Masir. Hasan Nizami is Tajul Masir. And Minaj Siraj writes Tabaqat-i Nasiri. Right? So that is the answer. So the answer is A. That's the answer. Dirham, not dinar. Yeah. Issued a new coin, gold coin, which was called dinar by Ibn Battuta. Ibn Battuta calls it as dinar. Right. Then department and creator. Match the codes. Diwani Bareed, spy department, Alauddin Khalji. You know that. Diwani Kohi, agriculture department. Who established the agriculture department? Don't look at the answer. Who issued the agriculture department? MBT, Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So agriculture department, Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Diwani Khairat, welfare department. Who established the welfare department? Welfare department, Firuz Shah Tughlaq. Right? And Diwani Aris. Aris is what? Military department, established by Balban. So the answer is A. Answer is A. Then which of the following is also known as Minar-e-Shamshi? So so I have marked the answer, but then you should give the reason. Which of the following is also known as Minar-e-Shamshi? Answer please. Which is known as Minar-e-Shamshi? The answer is Qutub Minar. Why Shamshi? Shamshuddin Iltutmish. So therefore called Minar-e-Shamshi. No, it was completed by Iltutmish. It was built by Iltutmish, isn't it? Not Balban Harika. It was not Balban, it is Iltutmish. So if you look at the Full answer. Yeah, Victory Tower of Iltutmish. Then the city and founder Jahan Pana. Who founded Jahan Pana? Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Deen Pana, Humayun, the sixth city of Delhi. Siri, built by Alauddin Khalji. And Mehroli by Qutbuddin Aibak. So the answer is D. This is the answer for you. 2021 question. It was during the reign of Iltutmish that Chengiz Khan reached the Indus in pursuit of the fugitive Khwarizmi prince. Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes, very good. Musharraf. It was during the reign of Muhammad bin Tughlaq that Timur occupied Multan and crossed the Indus. Yes or no? Harika, no. Harika says no. Very good. It was during the reign of Devaraya II of Vijayanagara Empire that Vasco da Gama reached the coast of Kerala. So it was not Devaraya, it was Immadi Narasimha. That is Narasimha the two. During the time of Narasimha the two, that Vasco da Gama reached the coast of Kerala, Calicut. So therefore, the third statement is wrong. When I come to Vijayanagara, you'll be able to understand the third statement. So the answer is only one. Only one is correct. A is the answer. Right? Then 2022 question. With reference to Indian history, consider the following statements. The first Mongol invasion of India happened during the reign of Jalaluddin Khalji. What is the statement? Yes or no? Very good. Which is the answer? The answer is Iltutmish. It happened in the time of Iltutmish. During the reign of Alauddin Khalji, one Mongol assault marched up to Delhi and besieged the city. Yes or no? Garvit says yes. Very good. Muhammad bin Tughlaq temporarily lost portions of northwest of his kingdom to Mongols. This is not correct. So the first two only. So right. So the answer is only two. So here it happened in the time of Iltutmish. First Mongol invasion happened in the time of Iltutmish. So the answer is two. Right. Then 2022 question. With reference to Indian history, who of the following were known as Kula Dharan? Kula Dharan. So this was a tough question. It is actually the Sayyids. The Sayyids, I believe, used to wear a pointed cap, something like this. So they used to wear a pointed cap like this, right? And this is called Kula Dharan, a pointed cap, Kula. So Dharan is one who is wearing a pointed cap. And the Sayyids claim descent from Prophet Muhammad through his daughter Fatima. So Prophet Muhammad's daughter was Fatima. So Sayyids claimed descent from her. And they were given a lot of respect. Even Timur is supposed to have not harmed them when he plundered Delhi in 1398-99. So this is the answer, Sayyids. Right? This is the end of the Delhi Sultanate topic, chapter. Was it interesting? Delhi Sultanate. Can we go to the next chapter? Mughal Empire. Still more interesting. Equally interesting, the Mughal Empire. So we'll go to the next chapter, Mughal Empire. So Mughal Empire, the Mughals, the great Mughals, 1526 to 1707. So this is the war flag of the Mughals. Okay, a lion and a sun there, as you can see, the imperial seal, and of course their emblem. So we have the great Mughals. So in medieval India, we'll be dealing with the great Mughals up to the death of Aurangzeb. These are the great Mughals: Babur, Humayun, Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan, and Aurangzeb. So these are the great Mughals: Babur, Humayun, Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan, and Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb dies in 1707. Aurangzeb dies in 1707. And from 1707 till 1857-58, we have the rule of the later Mughals. Later Mughals. A poor replica of the great Mughals. All were useless fellows, these later Mughals, which you study as part of modern India. You have nobles acting as kingmakers. You have a lot of attacks on India. Nadir Shah, Ahmad Shah Abdali. And the Mughal Empire had shrunk. It had become very weak. The Mughal Emperor was not able to give protection to his own subjects. So that was the state of affairs as part of later Mughals were concerned. But then the great Mughals were indeed great. Their achievements were great. So we'll talk about the great Mughals. Maratha chapter begins later. Akshata, just hold on. When I do Aurangzeb, I'll talk about Marathas in that context. Terminologies are very difficult. Revise, Dipankar. There's no other choice but to revise. Yeah, Ayush, we will do. Definitely Vijayanagara and Bahamani kingdom have to be done. We will do it. Don't worry about it. Why were the Mughals great? Their achievements were great. So that's why they're called the great Mughals. We'll talk about it. So on your screen, this is the Mughal Empire, what you see on top, that outline, that was the empire of Babur. That was the kingdom of Babur. So Babur, ruled over that area. You can see that here. This is number one, Babur. This is Babur's empire. Number two, this was added by Akbar. So whatever you see in yellow, were the conquest of Akbar, the greatest of the Mughal emperors, Akbar. And what you see in orange was added by Aurangzeb. So the zenith of the Mughal Empire, in terms of territorial spread, the zenith of the Mughal Empire was under Aurangzeb, right? So we'll talk about it. So very interesting topic, the Mughal Empire. So we have this person who visited India sometime in 1911, 1912, called Count Hermann Kesserling. He says the Mughals, he hailed the Mughals as the grandest rulers brought forth by mankind, men of action, refined diplomats, experienced judges of the human psyche, and at the same time, aesthetes and dreamers. That is, aesthetes is appreciation of art, beauty, music, painting, dance, etc., and also dreamers, according to Count Hermann Kesserling. So we will talk about history, about the Mughals, what is there in your textbooks. We will not be influenced by any other thing, other than the textbooks, whatever has been given in your UPSC textbooks, like Satish Chandra, etc. So don't be influenced by other comments or the WhatsApp University. We'll not talk about those things. So let us talk about this very fascinating man called Babur. Now, please understand, the Mughals are known more by their titles than by their real names. For example, Babur's real name was Zahiruddin Muhammad Babur. Babur means tiger. Babur means tiger. So, Zahiruddin Muhammad Babur. Humayun, Nasruddin Muhammad Humayun. Humayun means fortunate. But then his life was full of unfortunate circumstances, all his own making. We'll come to Humayun, very interesting chap in some time. So Humayun. Then Jalaluddin Muhammad Akbar. So that was the real name of Akbar. Jalaluddin Muhammad Akbar. Like that. So the Mughals are known more by their titles than by their real names. So let us understand something about Babur, who this Babur was. Why did he attack Delhi? When people invited him, why did he attack Delhi? And even before they invited him, I told you, 3 people invited Babur: Daulat Khan Lodi, Alam Khan Lodi, and Rana Sanga of Mewar. But then we'll talk about Babur. Who was this Babur? What was his background? Okay. We'll talk about Babur. Just hold on. Rajni says, one is common that none of the invading rulers wanted Kerala and Tamil Nadu, very far away because of the distance. Whatever they wanted, they got it in North India. And some of them who felt more greedy, like Alauddin, came to South, including Muhammad bin Tughlaq. But India is a huge country, and during those days, given the limitations of transport and communication, it would have been very difficult to conquer Tamil Nadu and Kerala. And they did not have a navy also for them to come easily through the sea and conquer Kerala and Tamil Nadu. So therefore, Rajneesh, that is the answer. Now we'll come back here. Who was this Babur? Right? Babur. Zahiruddin Muhammad Babur, who ruled only for 4 years, 1526 to 30. We'll talk about him. You see, Babur was the descendant of Taimur from his father's side. So from his dad's side, he was a descendant of Taimur, and from his mother's side, he was a descendant of Genghis Khan. So both these people had attacked India. You remember, Genghis Khan had come to the borders of India during the time of Iltutmish. So he was a descendant of Genghis Khan from his mother's side, and from his father's side, he was a descendant of Taimur. So the blood of 2 Mongol warriors was in his veins. Now Babur's father was a person called Sheikh Mirza. He was the king of Fargana, Sheikh Mirza. Sheikh Mirza. Now let us look at this map here on your screen. Locate Fargana. Where is Fargana? Fargana is here. So this is Fargana for you. So Babur's father was the ruler of Fargana. Okay, his name was Sheikh Mirza. Sheikh Mirza died, and Babur became the king of Fargana. So Sheikh Mirza Fargana. And Babur became the king of Fargana at a very young age. He became the king of Fargana at the age of 11 years or so. So he was about 11 years he became the king of Fargana. Now we need to understand Central Asian politics of those days. What was the politics of Central Asia during those days? We have three powers, contending or competing with each other for domination over Central Asia. One is the Safavids of Persia, the Safavid dynasty, which ruled Persia, the Safavids of Persia. Persia is Iran, as you know, Iran. And we have the king of Persia. His name was Shah Ismail. Shah Ismail. He was the king of Persia. Right? The second were the Ottoman Turks. The Ottoman Turks. And the third, of course, were the Uzbeks. Uzbeks or Uzbek or Uzbeks. And the leader was a fellow called um, um, yeah. So you have Safavids of Persia under Shah Ismail, the Ottoman Turks, and the Uzbeks. I'll get his name in some time. Just hold on. So you have this Uzbek leader. So these three powers, equally strong powers, were um, trying to compete with each other for domination over Central Asia. Now, Babur succeeded his father at Fargana. So Babur succeeded his father. And Babur's ambition was to conquer Samarkand. Samarkand, you can see, let us locate Samarkand. Where is Samarkand on the map? So Samarkand is here. As you can see, Samarkand. This is Samarkand. Samarkand was the ancestral homeland of the Mughals. So Babur's ambition was to conquer Samarkand. And 2 times he conquered Samarkand. Okay, 2 times he conquered Samarkand. But this Uzbek king, one is Abdullah Khan Uzbek, the other is, I forget that name. So this Uzbek ruler who hated Babur reconquered Samarkand both the times. You see, Babur had the support of this Shah Ismail. So everything was okay till Shah Ismail, the king of Persia, supported Babur. But once Shah Ismail died, Babur became alone. He lost the support of Shah Ismail because Shah Ismail was no more there. So Babur had no support. And that's the time when this Uzbek leader conquered Samarkand both the times. And then he also conquered Fargana. So Fargana was also conquered by this Uzbek king. I'll get the name of this Uzbek king in some time. Just hold on. So Babur became a king without a kingdom. So he lost Samarkand both the times. And then also he lost Fargana. So he became a king without a kingdom. He was a king without a kingdom. So, and his uncle, Babur's uncle, was ruling over far away Kabul. You can see here, where is Kabul on your screen? So this is Kabul. Kabul. This is Kabul. So Babur, in a very desperate situation, attacked Kabul with whatever army he could gather. He attacked Kabul and he conquered Kabul. So this is destiny which brought Babur from Central Asia to the borders of India, to the borders of Northwest India. So this was destiny which had brought him there to Kabul. He was ruling over Kabul. And then when he was in Kabul, he began to think, Shaibani Khan Uzbek, yes. So the answer is, of course, Shaibani Khan Uzbek. That is the answer I was looking for. So this Shaibani Khan Uzbek, Shaibani Khan Uzbek. So this Shaibani Khan Uzbek, so thank you here, Ayush Musarraf. So Shaibani Khan Uzbek was the one who hated Babur, and once Shah Ismail died, Shaibani Khan Uzbek twice reconquered Samarkand from Babur and also took away Fargana. So Babur conquers Kabul, and while he was in Kabul, while he was ruling over Kabul, Babur began to think, what if the Shaibani Khan Uzbek attacks Kabul? Again, I'll become a king without a kingdom. And since he was a descendant of Timur, Babur felt that certain territories which had been conquered by Timur automatically should belong to him. He has a right over those areas. You see, I told you, we know this. Timur had attacked Delhi in 1398-99 during the time of Nasruddin Muhammad Tughlaq. And that had brought about the end of the Tughlaq dynasty. So when Timur had attacked India, he had conquered some territories. Like, for example, he had conquered Herat, Kabul, Kandahar, parts of the Punjab. And these are called Timurid principalities. These are called Timurid principalities. And being a descendant of Timur from his father's side, Babur felt that he has a right over some parts of the Punjab. If not Kandahar and Herat, at least some parts of the Punjab, he has a right over them. And then we have the push and pull factors here. Understand this. Imagine you're Babur. You think yourself as Babur and think like him. You have the push and pull factors. Kabul, he was ruling over Kabul, Afghanistan, not a very resourceful area, arid zone, semi-arid zone, so not much of resources. And Punjab is a land of 5 rivers, a lot of resources there. So you have the pull factors of Punjab and the push factors acting here. Kabul was sort of pushing him away, and India was attracting him. The resources of Punjab were attracting him, and he felt that if Kabul again is conquered by Shaybani Khan Uzbek, then he will lose everything. So what Babur did is he conquered a few forts on the borders of India. These are called exploratory raids of Babur. 4 times he attacked the borders of India from Kabul, and he conquered a few forts. So 4 exploratory raids. So he had engaged in 4 exploratory raids on the borders of India, and he had conquered a few forts, and he was planning an attack for the 5th time. And that's the time when these 3 people invited Babur to attack Delhi. That is Daulat Khan Lodi, the governor of Punjab, Daulat Khan Lodi, Alam Khan Lodi, the uncle of Ibrahim Lodi, and of course Rana Sangram Singh or Rana Sanga of Mewar. So these 3 people invited Babur. As you can see on your screen, these are the 3 people: Daulat Khan Lodi, Alam Khan Lodi, and Rana Sangram Singh of Mewar. Now, why did these 3 people invite Babur? They had selfish motive. Each of them. All the 3 of them wanted to rule from Delhi. They wanted to rule over Delhi. So they thought Babur will come. We will help Babur. Babur will kill or defeat Ibrahim Lodi. Then he will plunder and loot, and he'll go back to Kabul. That's what they thought. Because all the invaders, Ghazni came, plundered and went back. Ghori came. So nobody stayed back in India. They came, looted, plundered, and went back. So they thought Babur will have he'll do similarly. He'll come, loot, plunder. He may defeat or kill Ibrahim, and then he'll go back. And then once he goes back, they can rule over Delhi. So they had selfish motives here. So they invited Babur, and Babur already was planning an attack for the 5th time. And Babur came, right? So now, so you have the governor of Punjab, Daulat Khan Lodi. He submitted before Babur. And then we have Babur coming about 8-10 days before the battle happened. So the first battle of Panipat happened on April the 21st, 1526. So Babur was already there in Panipat by the 12th, it is said. By the 12th of April, he was already there on the field of Panipat, and he prepared the battlefield. So he had a particular plan, and he had been warned by his astrologers, soothsayers, Babur's soothsayers, who will tell the future, who will predict the future, soothsayers, that warned Babur, telling him that don't go, you'll be killed. That's what the stars foretell. You'll be killed, so please don't go. But Babur had a lot of faith in his own capacity and in his God, Allah. So he had a lot of trust in his God, Allah, faith in his God, Allah, and of course in his own capacity. So he set aside the counsel of these soothsayers, and then he came to the battlefield of Panipat, and he prepared the battlefield. So you can see on your screen, this is the plan of Babur on your screen, all of you. So how did he prepare the battlefield? Babur bought 700 bullock carts. He bought 700 bullock carts, and he arranged them. These are the bullock carts. You can see here, these are the bullock carts. Okay, these are the bullock carts. 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. These are the bullock carts in square, whatever is in square. So he bought 700 bullock carts and he arranged them. He chained those bullock carts. So each of the bullock carts were chained, and there were gaps left between a few bullock carts where he placed his cannons, artillery. So you can see these are the cannons. Okay, these are the cannons which he placed strategically between the bullock carts. Now, behind the bullock carts and on the bullock carts sat the tirandas. So he had expert archers. So he placed those archers on the bullock carts so that they get the elevation. And of course, they had their shields with them. And the bullock cart wheels will act as a second line of defense. The bullock cart wheels, because behind the bullock cart wheels also sat the tirandas and the barakandas, that is the expert archers. Then he divided his army into a few parts. He never put the entire army on the battlefield. He had an army strength of what? Size 12,000. Babur had an army size of 12,000 cavalry. They were hardened, experienced soldiers and officers. So he had fought many battles. So they were hardened soldiers, battle-ready soldiers and officers, and they trusted each other and each other's capacities. They knew everything about how to fight a battle. So nothing was new to them. So battle hardened army he had. So 12,000, and of course he relied on cavalry. He relied on his cavalry. So he never put his battle on all the army on the battlefield. He had a reserve force. So this is the reserve force of Babur, right? Then you have the right wing and the left wing, okay, and then you have something called the flying columns. These are the flying columns of Babur. The flying columns. And then he dug up a trench. You can see here, this is the trench. He has dug up a trench, 8 to 10 feet deep, okay, wide enough so that no elephants or horses can jump over them. And that was covered with grass, dry leaves, etc. So it was covered. So he worked day and night, okay, because it was a very important battle. He knew the strength of the Delhi army. The Delhi army numbered 1 lakh. And if he loses, he'll be killed. He knows that. So he did not take anything to chance. He prepared his battlefield. He had a plan in his mind. Like all of you are preparing for UPSC, you should be having a plan, a blueprint as to how you're going to approach this exam. So like that, Babur also had his plan. Now, what did he do? So you have a reserve force, which was sent by Ibrahim Lodi's auxiliary force to test the strength of Babur's army. So this auxiliary force, came. Babur's army defeated the auxiliary force, but they had come not to fight, but to collect information as regards the strength of Babur's army. So they went back and informed Ibrahim that Babur's army is only 12,000. So you have the Delhi army of Ibrahim who were overconfident. So this was more than 1:5, isn't it? It was more than 1:5 in terms of ratio. 12,000 versus 1 lakh. 1 lakh. Now, Ibrahim also came to the battlefield thinking that, it will be over in a few hours. After all, he's only got an army strength of 12,000. So he also placed his army in a particular manner. So he has divided the army into various flanks. So in the front, in the green color is Ibrahim Lodi's army. These are the elephants. These are the elephants in the front. Behind, you have the cavalry, and then you have the infantry. And Lodi was behind with his bodyguards and chosen commanders. Now, so the Delhi army comes marching. And what do they see? They see bullock carts. You understand this? Think like Babur. So they see bullock carts on the battlefield, and they have never seen bullock carts. And they were kept wondering. The fellows in the front began to wonder, what are bullock carts doing in the battlefield? So they stop. So the people who are in the front row, the soldiers, they stop, right? And there is confusion in the ranks. There's confusion as to why the soldiers in the front have stopped. That is the time when Babur let loose the flying columns. So he let loose the flying columns. Who are these flying columns? You have mounted archers. So they are sitting on horses, right? Like literally standing on horses. And their aim is to surround the enemy, discharging arrows all the while. So their aim is to surround the enemy, okay, like this. So they start discharging arrows, and they are galloping. So horses are galloping from the from the sides, and then they're trying to surround the enemy, all the while shooting arrows at them. That is the time when Ibrahim orders the elephants to attack. Simultaneously, Babur orders the cannons to open fire. So you have the elephants taking the barrage of the cannonballs. Cannonballs are being fired, and the elephants are taking the brunt of the hit. They're getting hit. Many are falling down. Many are running away in panic, right? Because they have never seen gunpowder. They have never heard the sound of gunpowder. And the horses are dancing, in the army of Ibrahim Lodi. They're prancing. They are not able to, it's difficult to control the horses because they have not heard gunpowder. So please understand, Babur was the first king in North India. He was the first person in North India to use gunpowder. So automatically the question arises, when was gunpowder used on the soil of India? 1367. 1367, in the Battle of Mudkal. When we come to Vijayanagara, we'll talk about it. In the Battle of Mudkal, we have Bukka the first against the Bahmani Sultan Alauddin Bahman Shah. So in this particular battle, we have gunpowder used for the first time on the soil of India. On the soil of North India, Babur uses gunpowder in the first battle of Panipat in 1526. So here you have the cannons going boom, the elephants are falling down, and they're all also falling on their own soldiers. And then, of course, you have the tirandas, the expert archers of Babur who let loose their bows, let loose their arrows. So you have the Delhi army caught by Babur's army. They could not retreat because you have the flying columns behind. They have surrounded them. And then they cannot go front because many of the horses who have galloped away towards Babur's army have fallen into the ditches. This is a ditch, as we have seen. So it is said that this battle began at 9 o'clock in the morning. Okay, by 6 p.m. it was over. By 6 p.m. it was over. Ibrahim Lodi lay dead on the battlefield. And Babur had scored a thrilling victory, a decisive victory. He gave the credit of his victory to his cavalry. Now, please understand, what are the techniques used by Babur? He used two novel techniques which was alien to the Delhi Sultans. This was called Tulguma and Ottoman Rumi. Ottoman Rumi. He uses Ottoman Rumi. That is, what is Ottoman Rumi? Alternate arrangements. Alternate arrangement of carts, that is bullock carts, horses, and cannons. That's called Ottoman Rumi. And of course, Tulguma. So Ottoman Rumi technique he had learned from the Ottoman Turks. And Tulguma he had learned from Shaibani Khan Uzbeks. So he had learned this technique from the Uzbeks, that is the wheeling tactics. That is, I told you, he's let loose the flying columns. So that, you can imagine the Delhi army is marching, and in the peripheral vision, they are seeing horses coming from the sides and shooting arrows. So that's called wheeling tactics, Tulguma. Wheeling tactics. These two tactics were alien to the Delhi Sultans. They did not know about these tactics. And of course, he uses gunpowder on the soil of North India. So Ibrahim Lodi was killed on the battlefield. Babur had scored this victory, and he went and sat on the throne of Delhi and thus established the Mughal Empire. Are you there with me? What plan? I didn't understand, Chinuru. We'll come to that. Yeah, we'll come to that. Just hold on. Are you there with me? So we'll come back here. So this is the battle plan. Then, so Babur became the king at Delhi. He established the Mughal Empire in 1526. Now, the people who had invited him, you see here, Daulat Khan Lodi, Alam Khan Lodi, Rana Sangha of Mewar, they thought that Babur will come, he will defeat or kill Ibrahim, he'll plunder and loot Delhi, and he'll go back. When Babur decided to stay back, they turned against him. They never expected that Babur will stay back. And why should Babur go to the desert area, that is Afghanistan? He is much more happier in Delhi. So he stayed back in Delhi, and therefore these three people turned against Babur. So here we have the next year, another battle which was fought, the Battle of Khanwa. You can see here on your screen the Battle of Kanwa, 1527. And the person who led this battle was Rana Sangram Singh. Rana Sangram Singh, the Rana Sang of Mewar, was also one of the people who had invited Babur. When Babur decided to stay back, he turned against Babur. So he gathered all the Rajput kingdoms of North and Northwest India, and he put an army of 2 lakh size on the battlefield. So this is the famous Battle of Kanwa, which took place in the next year, 1527. Battle of Kanwa, or Kanwa, as it is called, 1527. Now, in 1 year, Babur's army had increased to 40,000. So he had increased his army strength to 40,000. And you have 2 lakh Rajputs here who are waiting to pounce upon Babur's army, led by Rana Sangram Singh. This is the Battle of Kanwa. So what happened here? When Babur's soldiers came to know about the strength of the Rajput army, they put down their swords. They said, we are heavily outnumbered, 1:5. 1:5, we are heavily outnumbered, and those are Rajputs. Either they'll kill or get killed. They will not run away. So therefore, they put down their sword and refused to fight. That's the time when Babur gave a stirring speech to his soldiers. So the leadership qualities of Babur are seen. So he talked to the soldiers, he spoke to them and gave a thrilling speech, a very inspiring speech. He told his soldiers, this is not an ordinary battle. This is jihad. This is jihad. That is holy war. Right? If you get killed in this battle, you will directly go to God, Allah. So what more do you want? This is jihad, holy war. And he took the title Ghazi. He took the title of Ghazi, that is holy warrior. He called himself as holy warrior, Ghazi. Then he told his soldiers that he will excuse all their taxes. They don't need to pay any taxes. He broke all the wine pots in the Mughal camp. So a huge amount of wine had been stored for the soldiers and officers to drink. So since this is a holy war, no wine would be consumed. So he broke all those wine pots. And also, no women would be allowed in the Mughal camp. Women in the Mughal camp, not to entertain the soldiers and keep them happy. So no women would be allowed. So he gave this speech, and those soldiers, when they were told that this is jihad, and if they get killed, they'll get a direct ticket to meet Allah, God Allah, they picked up their swords. The same technique was used by Babur, Tulguma and Ottoman Rumi. In the Battle of Kanwa, which was a much more serious battle when compared to the first Battle of Panipat, the Rajput army was decimated by Babur's soldiers. So you have 40,000 Babur's soldiers fighting like tigers, wounded tigers, and they defeated the Rajput army. Rana Sangram Singh was grievously wounded, and in a few weeks' time, he died. So this is the Battle of Kanwa. So second year, second war. First Battle of Panipat, 1526. Second battle is the Battle of Kanwa, 1527. Third year, he fought another battle, 1528. The Battle of Chanderi. The Battle of Chanderi. Medini Rai, the king of Chanderi, fought against Babur. He was killed, and Babur conquered Chanderi. Fourth year, Battle of Ghagra. The Battle of Ghagra. The kings of Bihar and Bengal joined together. The kings of Bihar and Bengal, Nusrat Shah of Bengal and Muhammad Shah of Bihar. So you have the, just hold on. Yeah, you can see here the Battle of Ghagra, Battle of Kanwa, then Battle of Chanderi, where he defeated Medini Rai, and the Battle of Ghagra in 1529, where he defeated Nusrat Shah of Bengal and Muhammad Lodi of Bihar. So in 4 years, Babur fought 4 battles, and he became the master of Hindustan. He became the master of Hindustan. That is, what is Hindustan here? Hindustan is that area from the Himalayas to Vindhyas. Hindustan. So Himalayas to Vindhyas, everything was his. What was his ambition? A few parts of Punjab. If he gets a few parts of Punjab, he'll be happy. So he thought like that in a game. And then destiny had other plans for him, and he became the master of Hindustan. From Himalayas to the Vindhyas, everything was his. Something like Somebody is preparing for UPSC. He wants to be or some other state service. Let us say Group 1, Group 2. He wants to be a sub-inspector, and then he writes UPSC and becomes IPS. So something like that. So Babur's happiness was manifold. So he had become the master of Hindustan. Then came a time when Babur's eldest son, so he has won all the 4 battles. The time is around 1530. We have Babur's eldest son, Humayun, who was on his deathbed. Babur's eldest son, young fellow, young person like you people, he was on his deathbed. Humayun, Babur's eldest son. And Babur's eldest son, Humayun, had participated in all these battles. He had helped his father in all these battles. So this broke the heart of Babur, that his son is not recovering, because the Hakims, the doctors came, they administered medicines, Ayurvedic medicines, Unani medicines, etc. But Humayun was not showing signs of recovery, and his health was deteriorating. So the Hakims gave up hope. Their doctors gave up hope. They told Babur, we have tried our best. We cannot do anything more than this. You please pray to Allah. And if he wills it, your son can live. So this is what the Hakims told Babur. So what Babur did is, he got into his prayer hall. He had a room where he used to pray, do namaz. So he got into his prayer hall, shut the door, and he began to do namaz or prayer to Allah day and night. And sincerely from his heart he prayed. So he said in his prayers, I believe, that I have lived my life. Please save that of my son. And whatever remaining life I have, please transfer that life to my son Humayun. Let him live. I don't mind dying. And his prayers seem to have been answered. So miraculously, Humayun showed signs of recovery. He began to recover. And Babur fell sick. And by the time Humayun had fully recovered, Babur was on his deathbed. Right? Now, how do we know all this? We know this because of Babur's autobiography. Babur writes his autobiography, Tuzuki Baburi. Tuzuki Baburi, or also called Babur Nama in Chagtai Turkish language. And in this autobiography, Babur has given all these details. So when Babur was on the verge of his death, on his deathbed, he called Humayun. Humayun had fully recovered, so he called Humayun, and then he took a promise from Humayun. You see, Babur had many wives, and from them many sons. So who are the sons of Babur? Humayun was his eldest. Then we have Kamran, Askari, and Hindal. So these are the other sons of Babur. Kamran, Askari, Hindal, apart from Humayun. And these 3 were from other wives of Babur. Humayun belonged, Humayun's mother was different. Kamran, Askari, Hindal were his stepbrothers. So Babur told Humayun, you should treat your stepbrothers as your own brothers. And whatever empire I have established, you should equally divide it amongst your stepbrothers. You promised me that. So this was the promise Babur asked from Humayun. And Humayun promised his father that he will do that. He will divide the empire equally amongst his stepbrothers and treat them as his own brothers. And Babur died. So initially he was buried at Agra, and later he was reburied at Kabul in the terrace of a garden which doesn't have any roof on top, any ceiling on top. So that was his desire, that no roof should surmount his grave. So initially buried at Agra at a place called Arambagh, and then later shifted to Kabul, and he was buried there at Kabul, where there is no roof surmounting his grave. So this is the fascinating story of Babur, right? He wrote Tuzuki Baburi, or Babur Nama, right? This is the Babur Nama or Tuzuki Baburi. And this is the tomb of Babur, where he has been buried or reburied in Kabul. So Babur's daughter, Gulbadan Begum, wrote a book called Humayun Nama, which is the biography of her brother Humayun. So Humayun Nama is the biography of Humayun, the brother of Gulbadan Begum. So he died at Agra and was later reburied at Kabul. Now, I'll take the help of a document for me to explain Babar Nama. Okay, so just hold on. So this Babar Nama, written by Babar, is divided into a few sections. So just for your interest, understand this. Not important for the exam point of view. Some things are important, I'll tell you. Now, this Babar Nama, written by Babar, is divided into three sections. It is written in a very simple manner. He had no knowledge of history. So, therefore, Babar writes whatever he writes in the Babar Nama so beautifully without knowledge of history that historians have praised Babar. And he's called the prince amongst autobiographers. The prince amongst or amongst autobiographers. Because of the simple and easy manner he writes. Now, this Babar Nama is written in a very simple manner. He condemns many times his own faults. So he points out his own faults in the Babar Nama. It is divided into three parts, the Babar Nama. In the first part, he talks about Farghana, where he ruled. He succeeded his father at Farghana, isn't it? So he talks about the administration of Farghana. In the second part, he talks about Kabul. And in the third part, he talks about India. And this part, what he talks about India, is very important for us. This Babarnama was translated into Persian language. It was written in Chagtai Turkish language, translated into Persian by Abdul Rahim Khani Khanan. So Abdul Rahim Khani Khanan. So he was the son of Bairam Khan, Khani Khanan. So he was the son of Bairam Khan. This Abdul Rahim Khani Khanan translated this Babarnama into Persian language. Right? And later it was translated to English by Mrs. Henry Beveridge. Mrs. Henry Beveridge translates the Babarnama into English. Now, Babar, even before he came to India, look at the mental preparation of Babar. Before he attacked India, fifth time, he had collected information about India from travelers, Sufi saints, merchants who used to travel across the borders. So he had collected information about India, from these travelers, merchants, and Sufi saints. So what does he tell? He tells us that when he came to India, there were 7 rulers ruling over India. 7 main rulers. Out of these 7 rulers, 5 were Musalmans, he says. 5 were Muslims, and he gives their names. And 2 were Kafirs, that is Hindus. So 2 were Hindus or Kafirs, he calls them. And 5 were Muslim kings. So he gives the names of these kings. For example, he talks about Ibrahim Lodi. So among the 5 Muslim rulers, you have Ibrahim Lodi. Kafir is somebody who doesn't follow Islam, right? As far as my knowledge goes, somebody who doesn't follow Islam is called kafir. So here, 5 Muslim kings, he gives their names. Ibrahim Lodi, the king of Delhi. Then he talks about Muhammad Shah, the king of the Bahamanis. King of the Bahamanis, Muhammad Shah. Then third king, the king of Gujarat, Muzaffar Shah II. Then the Malwa Sultan, Muhammad Khalji II. And the king of Bengal, Nusrat Shah. So he talks about Ibrahim Lodi, the king of Delhi. So he mentions his name. Then the king of Bengal, Nusrat Shah, the king of Bengal. Then he talks about Mahmud Khalji of Malwa, Muhammad Khalji the second of Malwa in Madhya Pradesh. Then he talks about the king of Gujarat, Muzaffar Shah the second of Gujarat. And of course, we have the Bahamani Sultan, Muhammad Shah, the Bahamani Sultan. So he gives a list of these Muslim kings, and then he also talks about 2 Hindu kings. One was of course Rana Sangha of Mewar, Rana Sangram Singh, Rana Sangha of Mewar, and of course Krishnadevaraya of Vijayanagara. I'll write in short, KD Raya, Krishnadevaraya of Vijayanagara, right? And he says, among the seven kings, the most powerful and a man of justice was Krishnadevaraya. So don't write KD Raya, write Krishnadevaraya in the exam in case there's a question, right? So right then, this Babar also talks about the geography of India. So he talks about the flora and the fauna of India. He says India is full of men and produce, full of men, lot of population and produce. It is covered by water from the three sides. Hindustan is a wonderful and different world. Its mountains, rivers, jungles, deserts, towns, cultivated lands, animals, plants, people and their tongues. Its rains and winds are all different. Air in the rains is very pleasant, he says. Then he talks about mango. He says mango is the best fruit of India. Elephant is the best animal. You see, Babar had never seen an elephant except in the first battle of Panipat. He saw an elephant for the first time in the first battle of Panipat. So mango is the best fruit of India. He had never eaten a mango. And he calls elephant as the best animal. Then he says people of low origin, that is poor people, go about naked wearing a langota. So that is a decency cloth where only the front is covered, back is exposed, used by men. Langota. So people of low origin go about naked wearing a langota. So he had never seen langoti in his life till then. Then he also criticizes India. He says Hindustan is a country of few charms. People have no good looks. That's according to Babar, so don't take it seriously. So Hindustan is a country of few charms. People have no good looks, no social intercourse. That is, they don't visit each other's houses. If somebody comes visiting, your neighbor comes visiting, they have a doubt why this person has come. He must be having some selfish motive. So there's no social intercourse. Do not visit or receive visit. There are no good horses, grapes, dogs, no good food in the bazaars, no colleges, no running water in their gardens and palaces. The towns are dirty and not planned properly. That's what he says. So he writes in a very simple manner in Chagatai Turkish language, and therefore is called the Prince amongst autobiographers. So we will talk about the rest of the story tomorrow. I've run out of time. We'll meet tomorrow. You have a great day. Any questions are always welcome. I'll answer it tomorrow. So thank you. You have a good day. Babar was sick. Then how did he write the book, sir? Already he had started writing, Baba. Yasin, he had started writing his autobiography. And it's not that suddenly he was on his deathbed. Slowly he became sicker and sicker, and ultimately he was on his deathbed. So he must have found some time and energy to write his autobiography. Who destroyed Nalanda University? Bakhtiyar Khalji. Yeah. Sham, Humayun really divided his kingdom between his brothers. We'll talk about it tomorrow, about Humayun, Akbar, etc. So tomorrow I hope to finish Mughal Empire, and then we will talk about the great Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. I'll come to Marathas. Okay, so carry on. Have a good day. We'll meet tomorrow. Thank you.